The following is a presentation of TBS Sports. Exclusively on Superstation TBS.
For nearly every youngster who has ever laced up a pair of sneakers and dribbled a basketball, the playground is the stage. A good beginning makes for a good ending, and this is where the courtship begins. You develop your skills through patience and time. In the early years, there always seems to be someone bigger and better to take your place. There is an extensive filtering process, and on each step up the ladder, the competition intensifies. This is where you turn the dreams of being drafted by the NBA into a reality with a mixture of talent, desire, and dedication. 30 years ago, Wilt Chamberlain made the transition from the playgrounds of Philadelphia to Overbrook High School. From there to the University of Kansas, where he was drafted in 1959 by Philadelphia. They're still talking about Lou Alcindor from his high school playing days in the 60s. The legend of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar continues through 19 NBA seasons. You can never plan the future by the glories of the past. The dream comes true when the NBA has its mind set on you.
I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. Got my mind set on you. It's gonna take time, a whole lot of precious time. It's gonna take patience and time to do it, 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 to do it right.
TBS Sports coverage of the 1988 NBA Draft is being brought to you by Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Center. By Jeep Eagle, official vehicles of the NBA. By Digital Equipment Corporation, the official computer vendor to the NBA. By Sheraton, the official hotel sponsor of the NBA. And by Johnson Products, makers of Ultrastar, the hair grooming system for men.
We are live from Midtown Manhattan, Madison Square Garden. And inside the garden at the Felt Forum, some 3,000 fans, team representatives, and 18 of the best basketball players in the world ready to begin their NBA career are here with us this afternoon at noon Eastern Time from New York City. Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Neal. After you get past the first pick in this draft, which is going to be Danny Manning going to Los Angeles Clippers, no secret to anybody, it is up for grabs. Already, many deals are in the work. Some have already been made. There were two blockbusters last night. First of all, Chicago sent Charles Oakley to New York for Bill Cartwright. They will swap their first-round selections, 11 and 19, and exchange third-round selections. Atlanta and Sacramento also busy trading before the midnight deadline last night. The Atlanta Hawks sent Randy Whitman and their #1 draft choice this year to Sacramento for Reggie Theus, and the Hawks will obtain from the Kings their third-round selection. There are also two new teams in the NBA this year, Charlotte and Miami. And we'll have a representative in Charlotte to explain what's going on there. And, of course, both those teams have been through the expansion drafts and will be drafting from the college pool that's been gathered here today. And also, after the new collective bargaining agreement, this draft has been reduced to 3 rounds, meaning there will be a lot of free agents available after the third round is completed. Analyzing the draft with me this year, Larry Connolly and Rick Barry. Larry Connolly has seen virtually all of these players at one time or another in their college career. And Larry, I know that you've done over 65 college games this year, so you know what these college players are all about.
Bob, it's a good draft. It's a very deep draft. I think they can go to 30 or 35 players. The key words, I think, for today's draft is versatility and patience. There are a couple of players in this draft that are going to have an immediate impact, but a lot of these guys are going to require some patience from their clubs because they're going to have time to mature.
And my NBA broadcast partner, Rick Barry, Hall of Famer. He's seen all these NBA teams, and he'll be talking about the draft from a team point of view.
Well, Bob, it's a very deep draft, as everybody realizes. However, there are a lot of positions to be filled that I don't think the depth really fills. So it's going to be a situation where teams are going to make selections that could become very interesting, and there may be a lot of deals made after the draft has taken place.
And out on the West Coast, Steve Jones is standing by at the Los Angeles Sports Arena with a very excited Los Angeles Clippers team. Steve?
Well, Bob, out here in Los Angeles, everyone is in a very festive mood. Of course, they know that Danny Manning is going to be the #1 pick, and there's a lot of speculation about what's going to happen with their second pick. In the papers this morning, there has been a deal at least made, and they're not sure, but Michael Cage was supposed to be on this program. He is not here, so he may be part of the deal, and we'll find out whether they actually move up in the draft from 6 to 3 as we get ready for this draft to unfold.
Thank you, Steve Jones. We'll keep on top of that story with some impending breaking news, perhaps, in today's draft. And the Charlotte Hornets and the Miami Heat, the two new teams. Paul Ryden is in Charlotte at the Convention Center. Paul?
Thank you, Bob. You know, North Carolina is probably better known for stock cars and college basketball, but today pro basketball takes center stage as Charlotte enters a new era. Now, the Hornets officials are going to be off in a small room here at the Convention Center, cloistered away, making their picks. They're going to announce those picks through about 3,000 close friends here on a big screen TV, and they'll hear the announcements shortly before you do at home on TV. So with balloons hanging from the ceilings and a new celebration here, it is a celebration of a dream that's turned into a reality. It's a party, and we'll be back a little bit later. Right now, let's go back to New York and Bob Neal.
And a man familiar to all our NBA audience on our telecast during the year at the Superstation, Craig Sager, is with us in the Felt Forum. Craig will be introducing us to these brand new NBA players. Craig?
Well, thank you very much, Bob. They say the difficulty in life is the choice. Last night, the Chicago Bulls made a choice. They decided to send Charles Oakley to the New York Knicks. Charles, I know you were at the fight last night when you found out about it. What's your reaction to going to New York?
Well, I had heard about it early in the day, and I was hoping it happened, and it happened. I'm just glad to be here in New York, and I'm going to give it my best every night.
Michael Jordan was such a great player to watch and also to play with. A close friend of yours, what was his reaction?
Well, Michael felt sad. He didn't know what was happening, and I just told him, you never know what happened in this game, and just have a good year, and I'll see him at the beginning of the season.
With the Bulls, you're known as a rebounder, but now with the Knicks, maybe you'll score more now that Michael's not there.
Well, no, I'm just coming in and do the same thing. If they want me to score, I'll score. If not, I'll just rebound and play hard every night.
I know you'll miss Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan will be missing you. You got the ball to him quite a bit.
Yes, I did. You know, he's going to have a hard time this year, and they work him hard, and I told him don't let him burn him out because he got a lot more years to play, and I wish him good luck.
Charles Oakley, the newest New York Knick. Now back to Bob Neal.
And they're happy here at the Felt Forum. Ewing, Mark Jackson, Oakley, Knicks team getting a whole lot better. Now, also, there are going to be many deals brewing during this draft today and a lot of stories that'll be breaking. And a man who's very well equipped to cover that is the columnist for basketball and other sports news for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He'll be on the floor chasing down the breaking news for us. Roy S. Johnson will be going to him from time to time throughout today's telecast. And we'll be back with the commissioner of the NBA and the first pick in the 1988 NBA draft right after this.
Jeep designed Cherokee to give you more than any other vehicle of its kind. Like a choice of 2 or 4 doors and room for 5 adults. And now you can get Cherokee with an optional 4-liter 6-cylinder engine that has more power, a lot more power, than anything in its class. All of this is precisely why 4-Wheel and Off-Road Magazine named Jeep Cherokee 4x4 of the Year for the second time.
Save up to $2,050 on selected Jeep vehicles, America's winners.
That's it for today.
After a long day of eating hot lead, there's nothing better than drinking a cold Miller Lite. Light sure tastes great, and it really is less filling.
Shoot, there's only one light beer, Miller Lite.
Hey, Joe, give me another. That didn't fill me up at all.
Let's get ready to rumble!
The Shack is back.
That was in the upper deck. Oh, that one's gone.
Good manners are back.
Have you ever seen a crisp $50 bill?
Good times are back.
Woo! Bingo!
Will you please suck out the poison for me?
Caddyshack 2.
Is there any money in it for me?
Rated PG. Starts Friday, July 22nd at a theater near you.
Box seats for Webb.
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
The Discover card actually pays you cash back for every charge. It pays to Discover.
Tawana Brawley, the teenager whose story of rape and kidnap has mystified a nation. It's on the cover of this week's People. How Tawana's controversial advisors might be adding to this growing nightmare. This week, the story behind Tawana's story. People, that's what we're all about.
Here's the order of selections in the first round today. The top 3 teams were determined in order by the draw at the lottery. The top 7 were the lottery teams, but after the first 3, the rest of the teams will draw in order of the way they finished and their record in the NBA last year. And they start with the Los Angeles Clippers, and you see that 8 and 9 were Charlotte and Miami. They determined who would go first, also by a coin flip. And down through 16 with the Houston Rockets, and of course the 2-time world champion Los Angeles Lakers will be selecting 25 teams, 2 extra teams in the draft this year. There are 25 selections. There are 18 players here today. Mark Bryant from Seton Hall, along with some of the other NBA players gathered here today. Mark Bryant, the very powerful rebounding forward from Seton Hall. He's going to help somebody a lot. You're looking at Rex Chapman, the guard from Kentucky, only a sophomore. He came out. Gary Grant, the point guard from Michigan. From Oklahoma, another Grant, no relation, will be Harvey Grant, along with Jeff Grayer. There's Harvey Grant and Jeff Grayer from Iowa State. Grayer, the great 2-guard swing man who can really fill it up, and Hersey Hawkins from Bradley, along with Shelton Jones from St. John's, a local favorite here at the Felt Forum in New York today. And you see just off the picture to your right coming into view will be Danny Manning. Danny Manning will already be determined that he's going to go to the Los Angeles Clippers. Danny Manning. Then you will next pick up, you'll see Chris Morris from Auburn on the left, and Will Perdue, the 7-footer from Vanderbilt, a great shot blocker and post-up player. These players, all of whom will be selected somewhere in the top 25 today, virtually certain. Some of the other players who are with us today include Rod Strickland, Rick Smits, Charles Smith, Ron Cycli, David Rivers, Mitch Rittman, Tim Perry. You'd get a view of them there on the floor at the Felt Forum today, and you'll be meeting them as their name is about to be called, finishing their college careers, some of them earlier than others. As you know, Rex Chapman, the sophomore, some of them seniors, and a few other early entries in the draft today, and we'll be following where they go and talking about them as we go along this afternoon. Now, the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, will be joining us in just a moment, and David Stern will be explaining the rules of this draft, how it will work, how the trades will happen, if there are any, and just who will be selected and what the procedure is. But you'll be meeting every one of these players with David Stern announcing the order of selection in the first round. Also, I might mention that there are 2 new teams, remember, this year, and the draft will only be 3 rounds. Let's go to the podium now. The commissioner of the NBA, David Stern.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To NBA fans here at the Felt Forum in New York, to those gathered at NBA draft headquarters across the country, and to our national television audience on Superstation TBS, welcome to the 1988 NBA Draft. There are 2 changes in the draft this year. First, the draft has been shortened from 7 to 3 rounds. Second, each round will have 2 additional selections. And I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome the fans of our 2 new teams, the Miami Heat and the Charlotte Hornets. Our teams have been briefed on all of the rules. Just a couple to remind those in our audience. In the first round, each team has 5 minutes to make a selection. In the second and third round, selections must be made in 2 minutes. Everyone wants to get started, so let's go. The first selection in the 1988 NBA Draft will be made by the Los Angeles Clippers. For the first selection in the 1988 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Danny Manning of Kansas.
Selection, he's 22 years old, 6'11", 220 pounds, two-time consensus All-American, and of course remembered best, I'm certain, for his 1988 NCAA tournament play against Oklahoma. He was the tournament MVP in that game, 31 points, 18 rebounds. He did it all, took the game in his hands, and literally led Kansas to the national championship. The all-time leading scorer in Big 8 conference history with nearly 3,000 points, Danny Manning going to the Los Angeles Clippers.
Bob, this is a great player. At 6'11", 220 pounds, he is the prototype big man on the inside for the NBA. His offensive abilities run the gamut. Here he shows you his inside work, catching the ball, sealing the man away, and catching the pass inside for the jam. He does that extremely well and has done it for 4 years for Larry Brown at Kansas. On the other end, he can run the floor. He can pick the ball up on the pass. You can see him running out right here. Look at this long stride for this big man. Finishes it up with a jam on the other end. Versatility is without question one of his biggest assets. He can shoot it. He can handle it on the inside. His strengths, his scoring. He can do it inside. He can do it outside. Very mobile. He can pass and handle the ball. Weaknesses, I'm still looking for him, Bob.
And Rick Barry, with your son at Kansas, you spent a lot of time with this team and with this young man. You've been on the floor with this fella. Tell us about him personally as an NBA prospect.
Well, Bob, I think that he's a terrific young man, which really says a lot for Danny Manning. But out on the court, he is really an exceptional talent. If he will develop the 18-foot outside jump shot, I don't think that any small forward will be able to guard him when he takes him inside, because I think that's the position he has to play in, small forward. Now, Larry Brown probably felt bad losing him, but he's got to feel worse now because he has to play against him.
And Larry Brown, of course, the new coach at San Antonio. We're going to go now to Los Angeles. You met Steve Jones a couple of minutes ago. He's out there with Elgin Baylor, a very excited and happy Elgin Baylor with the Los Angeles Clippers. Steve?
All right, Bob Neal, these balloons are not for you. This is part of the celebration that's going on here at the sports arena. Of course, the guy that has told the nation a long time ago that they're going to take Danny Manning. Elgin, the obvious question is not the talent of Danny Manning, but the schedule and when the Los Angeles Clippers expect to produce a winning team.
Well, you know, we're making the effort. You can't just say when we're going to have a winning season. But as I say, right now we're in the process of putting together the best talent we can get out of the out of college basketball. And we feel with Danny Manning, we're certainly heading in the right direction. We got the best player in basketball, and we can just surround Danny Manning with some other good talent that we're going to get out of this draft. I think that we're going to really have an exciting and a good year. But when you say once we're going to have a winning season, that's very difficult to predict. But I just think we're on our way, and it'll happen very, very soon.
All right, now you're good friends with Lenny Wilkins and Wayne Embry. Maybe you can call them in Cleveland and ask them how it was that first year when they had all those young players and exactly what they decided to live through.
Well, I know what they went through. They took the position where they're going to build with young players. They took the risk of going with 3 young players, 3 rookies. It worked out okay. They had a good season. Now it's paying dividends now because the young players have got experience. They have developed. They've added some other players with them, and we tend to follow, in a sense, the same method. I just think that we might have a few better players.
And so your turn may come a little bit sooner. All right, Elgin, well, I know that you're busy. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you very much, Steve.
And they're saying Danny Manning is the best player to come out of Kansas since Wilt Chamberlain. He's with Craig Sager right now.
Thank you very much, Bob. Danny, you were a great player always at Kansas, but in the NCAA tournament, your game just went to a new level. What did you do, and how did you become an even better player?
Well, I think, we started out the season. We had a lot of talent on the team. We lost some players. We were 12-8 at one point in the season, and things looked real bleak for us. But we came together and played as a team.
No surprise you're taken by the LA Clippers, but you haven't signed a contract yet. I know that's not your big worry, it's your agent, but when do you want to get signed? When do you want to get that part of your life over with and start playing pro ball?
Well, hopefully we can get it done as soon as possible without many hassles. Just want to go in there, see a nice contract that we like, sign, and get down to business.
You're used to winning ball games from high school to college. We won a national championship. What adjustments is going to be going to a team that has been struggling?
Well, it's going to be adjustment, but I have to go in and I'm going to go out and play as hard as I can every night, and that's the best I can do.
Well, congratulations. Also, congratulations to your father, Ed, who's watching down in San Antonio. Back to Bob.
Next up on the NBA draft will be Indiana. And Rick Barry, as we take a look at Indiana, they finished last in the Central Division this year. Indiana had only 38 wins, but nevertheless, they are a very good team with a great opportunity here in the number 2 pick in 1988.
Well, yes, all indications, Bob, are the fact that they're going to be picking Rick Smits from Marist, and the reason being that they feel that he is about a year or two away from becoming an outstanding player for Indiana, and by picking him up, that could allow them to make some other moves with the other talent they have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Indiana in this pick.
Larry Connolly, Rick Smits is 7'3". He's from Eindhoven, Holland. Tell us a bit about him from Marist College.
Well, the one thing I like about him is not only is he big, but he's got great hands. He posts up well. He catches the ball well down on the inside. I think he has an excellent hook shot, and he's the type of player, and I think Rick makes a good point here, is that they can make some adjustments in Indiana by picking him up. For example, moving Stepanovic to a power forward. He's played center. It's not really his position. He's a better power forward, and picking up Marist, I think, is a big plus for the Pacers.
Indiana's done a very good job with their draft. They're the only team in the NBA that has still on their roster their last 5 number 1 draft choices. A lot of people admire the job that Dallas has done with their draft. Indiana also has done a very good job in drafting college players. Everybody expects them to be taking Rick Smits, the 7'3" center from Marist College. We're going to go now to the commissioner of the NBA, and David Stern.
For the second pick in the 1988 NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers select Rick Smits of Marist College.
Located about 60 miles southeast of Amsterdam. He started playing basketball when he was 14. By the way, if you wonder about his discipline, you know he's a well-disciplined youngster. His father is 6'7" and is a former European judo champion. So I doubt at 7'3" if Rick Smits ever returned any compliments to his father. He played at Marist, and of course a lot of people wonder if the competition at Marist was enough to get him ready for the banging, the physical nature, and the intensity of the 100-plus games in the NBA that he'd have to play, counting preseason and playoff games.
You know, Bob, in reviewing the statistics on Rick Smits, I think the one thing that really jumped out to me and really impressed me the most was the fact that in the 3 years he's played there, he's never been below 60% from the field, which is incredible. It's a great shooting.
What I like about him, Bob, is the fact that he is mobile for a man that size. He runs the court well, has good mobility, and when you have that in a man with that size, you can put some added strength and bulk on him very easily.
He was a member of the Dutch national team, by the way, in 1986 and 1987. So Rick Smits is the number 2 selection in this draft. And let's now talk about Rick Smits a bit and see what he's made of and what he's about. And Larry Connolly analyze him one more time as we take a look at some pictures of this young man and his strengths and weaknesses.
Well, Bob, the thing that I like about him, as Rick says, he's an inside post player. He's got a good hook shot and great hands. Weakness is upper body strength. I think he does need some more stamina upstairs to compete in the NBA. Intensity, I maybe throw that in there because I'm not sure the competition he has played in the last 3 years is maybe up to what the other players are going to be selected in this first round have had. It's not to say that the league is not good, but I don't think it's as good as the other players that have played in the NBA that are going to come out in this first round.
Okay, well, Paul Ryden has taken a very close look at this young man, video-wise, and we're going to let you meet Rick Smits right now.
Years ago, the NBA was completely unaware of a rapidly growing Dutch lad from Eindhoven, Holland, who was just taking up the game that his mother had played. Then again, the NBA held about as much, if not less, importance to Rick Smits.
I hadn't even heard of the NBA 6 years ago, so I had no idea what position I would be in now.
The position he's in now is as the league's newest big man, though he's been showered with accolades and honors like Conference Player of the Year 2 years in a row and honorable mention All-America. Most of Rick's work has come against smaller schools, little-known competition. He has done well against big-name foes, but unlike most first-rounders, Rick might be considered a project. Nothing wrong with that. Look what happened to Mark Eaton, who rode an undistinguished career at UCLA into stardom with the Utah Jazz. Then there's another foreign player, another project, Manute Bol from the Sudan, now with Golden State. But Smits sees a difference between the dinka-dunker and the dunking Dutchman.
First of all, I played 4 years in college. You know, I think he played 1 year at Bridgeport. I think he's more of a shot blocker, and I think I have a more all-around game than him. I think I can make impact right away. I don't know how much, but you know, a project I wouldn't mind being that either. You know, just making an impact 1-2 years down the road would be fine with me too.
Dreams can take time.
The seeds planted 6 years ago are now finally bearing fruit in ways Rick Smits had never imagined.
Well, I picture the team sitting up there and announcing their picks, and I guess when the picks are announced, they come up and get the hat on. That's about it.
And that's the easy part. Now, the work begins.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. And here's the hat you can put on. Now a member of the Indiana Pacers. A big pick for Indiana. We had them listed earlier a year ago, maybe at 7'2", now 7'3". You tell me you're still growing?
Oh, yeah, I'm about 7'4".
7'4". A lot of the players out here today, it's been a lifelong dream to play in the NBA. When did you first decide that, hey, it is a chance and that's what you really want to do with your life?
Well, the sophomore year in college, I decided, we played in the NCAA tournament, and I think our team did pretty well, and then I saw the NBA as a possibility for me.
You're going to Indiana. Did you ever see the movie Hoosiers?
Oh, yeah. Nice movie.
Okay. Thanks a lot for being with us. Rick Smits of the Indiana Pacers. Back to Bob.
So the first two picks in the draft have gone as everybody expected. Danny Manning to the Los Angeles Clippers, and now center Rick Smits from Marist goes to Indiana. The third pick is Philadelphia, and we told you earlier that Atlanta Journal-Constitution columnist Roy S. Johnson would be chasing down some breaking news stories for us. Philadelphia is due to pick third, and we hear some rumblings that there may be some deal attempts going on right now. Let's go to the floor and Roy S. Johnson. Roy?
Well, that's right, Bob. It's been clear for the last several hours that the Philadelphia 76ers here will probably be the key to whatever movement there is today. The Sixers are looking for a guard, but as everyone knows, teams covet big men. So look for the Sixers to draft Charles Smith, considered to be one of the best forwards in the draft, and then dangle him out there like a carrot to teams like Golden State and the Los Angeles Clippers. It looks like the Clippers have what it will take to get Smith from the Sixers. They're looking for either Mitch Richmond or Hersey Hawkins, and that could touch off a three-way deal involving Seattle and the 15th pick probably next year, where Michael Cage of the Clippers would end up in Seattle. So Bob and Larry and Rick, pencil in Charles Smith for your next pick, but don't do it in pen.
Thank you, Roy S. Johnson. He'll be chasing down the breaking stories for us today. Philadelphia, to set it up quickly, where they're coming from, why they're third. Philadelphia finished fourth in the Atlantic Division. They were one of the lottery teams, 36-46 on the season. They need help at center at the two-guard position, but there may be a deal in the works. Let's go to David Stern.
Yes? For the third pick in the draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Charles Smith of the University of Pittsburgh.
Charles Smith from the University of Pittsburgh. Charles Smith is 6'10", 225 pounds. A lot of scouts think he may be better suited for a small forward than a power forward role. He likes to go outside a little bit. He is a definite major projection in this draft. Everybody likes him, but once again, not the man that people thought Philadelphia would take, indicating that Roy S. Johnson, and the stories we've heard is that this man may be selected for a later deal to be made in the draft. But Charles Smith is going to be playing, and playing big, Larry Connolly, for somebody's NBA team.
Well, this is a player at 6'10" and 225 pounds. I classify as a player for all positions. He was the player of the year in the Big East, and he shows you right here some of his abilities. The shot from the outside is there. He can bury it. He can take it out there, and that's why scouts like him at that small forward position. He's very maneuverable. He's very agile. You can see right here on the run out how he can catch the ball, a good pump fake, gets himself under control, and the reverse jam. I think this is the kind of player that fits very well whomever wants to take him, and no matter what the deal is, I think whoever ends up with him is going to have a great player. Strengths, he's very versatile. He's a good offensive player. He works the glass on both ends. He's a strong rebounder. I think maybe he needs to be a little bit more physical on the inside, and he's got to be very careful about his fouls. He does have a tendency to foul too much.
Rick Barry, you and I have talked as we watched NBA teams this year about the lack of a lot of scoring, perimeter shooting forwards, the outside shot. Might this man be one of those future players?
Well, I think Charles Smith can fill that role, and as Larry pointed out, I think he's also has the capability of playing inside. Whenever I see a player's weaknesses listed as not being physical enough, I don't worry about that. It's very easy to get on the machines, work your body, and get yourself a lot stronger and a lot bigger. Charles Smith, I think, is going to be an outstanding NBA player. player. I was impressed with him in the World Championships a few years ago. He's done nothing but get better, and whoever winds up with him, whether it's going to be Philadelphia, the Clippers, or whomever, I think that he will be one of the outstanding professionals in the NBA in the years to come.
And remember, he played in a very physical conference in the Big East at Pittsburgh. Let's go to Craig Sager now, who's going to introduce you to Charles Smith.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. Rick Smits was very excited to put on his Indiana Pacer hat, but Charles Smith is a little bit tentative about putting on your Philadelphia hat. I saw you stop by the LA Clippers table. What's happening?
Well, there's been some whispers about a trade, and whatever happens to me, I'm pretty much up in the air for it and take the situation as it comes. I think probably the better situation for me would be in Philadelphia due to the fact that I'm from the East and Pittsburgh's in Pennsylvania, and I think I can get the fan support from Philly.
But if you go to the Clippers, you'll be teamed with Danny Manning. I know when you play in the summer camps and go, they always split you two up.
Yeah, that's a great situation. Danny and I are pretty similar players, and we would like to get on the floor and run a lot, and we can do different things and play an up-tempo type game. So that's also a great situation.
Well, hold on to that hat. You may be wearing another one before the day's over. Back to Bob Neal.
Thank you, Craig Sager. Charles Smith, 6'10", 225 from Bridgeport, Connecticut, his hometown. Now, New Jersey is going to be coming up next year, and New Jersey just had all kinds of problems last year. They went through 3 coaches, and you might add basketball, net,
You can
gym.
put everything down there, Bob, when it comes to team needs in New Jersey. I talked to Al Menendez about the situation there in New Jersey. He says, Rick, honestly, he said, you hear the old cliche that we're going to take the best available player. He says, in our case, that is really true because we need help everywhere. So it's really going to be interesting to see who the New Jersey Nets come up with.
Larry, what do you think about the kind of potential and the possibilities for New Jersey here in the 4th pick?
Well, if you're going to look at centers, there are a number of good centers still out there available. Obviously, you can look at Cycli and Purdue, Lang. Roland Ferrara from Houston is a pretty good pick. But I think Cycli or Purdue really fits the bill right here if they're looking for a center because these two guys really have got some ability. Cycli from the East, Will Purdue obviously from Vanderbilt. And one of those players that, much like Charles Smith, I like players who are coming off a college career and improving. And I think that Will Purdue and Charles Smith are 2 of those kind of players.
You know, another question to ask here is you take a look at New Jersey and put aside Buck Williams, who's certainly a terrific player. Orlando Woolridge is still up in the air as to how much a contribution he's going to make, if any. This is a team that needs to build all over. We also have heard Chris Morris's name from Auburn mentioned as a possibility with this basketball team. So New Jersey could literally go across the board, and they are taking their sweet time. There's a 5-minute time limit. We have only about 10 seconds left here. You see Ronnie Cycli sitting there on the right side in the center of your screen. So New Jersey is taking it right down to the wire to determine who they are going to select here in the 4th pick of the 1988 draft. It was Manning to the LA Clippers. Then the Indiana Pacers took Rick Smits. Philadelphia has taken Charles Smith, and we have rumors of a trade there. And now New Jersey is stepping up, ready to make their pick, and they can use just about anybody. Let's go to David Stern.
For the 4th pick, the New Jersey Nets select Chris Morris of Auburn.
Chris Morris is 6'8", 210 pounds from Auburn University. He's a native of Atlanta, Georgia, was 2nd in the SEC in both scoring and rebounding. He is a tremendous player, a real athlete, and I always get a kick out of calling an NBA player an athlete. I haven't known many who haven't been, but by that means he can leap, he can run, he can shoot, he can do about anything. Some people say they remind him, certainly is a long way from that, but almost the kind of skills that a Dominique Wilkins might have in the NBA. So Chris Morris, Larry Connolly, is certainly a find. Let's go right away, though, the fact that he might have some problems with his back or knee. What do you know about that?
Well, we've heard about that perhaps he's got either a knee or back injury. You can see right here he didn't have any knee or back injuries on that shot. He can do a lot of things for this club. He's an offensive machine. He's a great small forward. And really his stock has been very high all year long. You can see his outside shooting ability right there. At 6'8" and 210 pounds, I think he's a great small forward. Complete offensive game. He can handle the ball in the open court. Strong off the glass. Weaknesses up and down emotionally. I think maybe someone's going to have to get into his head a little bit. And a consistent effort. I've seen him play a lot of basketball games over the years, and he has a tendency to float in and out of games. When he's on, he's very, very good. But Rick, I think he's a great lottery choice and certainly one that's going to have a good NBA career.
Well, I really agree with you, Larry. I think when you get a player with those type of skills, the other little weaknesses and problems that you talked about, I think will kind of fall into place. Maturity, I think, will take great care of a situation like that. But I like the young man because of the fact that he has such great natural skills. Everybody rated him right below Charles Smith as far as the small forward position, a position I think that is very key to having a successful team.
You know, in this draft, you and I talked about the two positions. Really, the small forward and the big guard were the two best positions in this draft.
Exactly right. Now, I think New Jersey has a good one.
And one point about whether or not he's injured, I don't think he is. Sonny Smith doesn't seem to think so, his coach at Auburn. And remember, he played 113 consecutive games at Auburn. This is a tough young man, so he seems to be in pretty good shape. Let's ask Craig Sager to ask him about his health. Craig?
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Talking about your knee or back injuries, what is your status? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I know every athlete has tendonitis coming around, especially then your back. You know, it gets stiff a little bit when you jog or playing out on the court, and it's doing pretty good.
I know before big games at Auburn, you used to shave your head. Why didn't you do it before the draft today?
Well, I didn't feel like doing it. I just went ahead and faded up a little bit.
So congratulations. I know Willis Reed is looking forward to seeing you in New Jersey.
Okay.
And the NBA draft will continue on Superstation TBS from the Felt Forum in New York. Stay tuned.
There's nothing sweeter than having a couple of wins under your belt. But you can't rest on your laurels. You got to get ready for the next guy, the next team, the next opportunity.
We must stop comparing ourselves against yesterday and start measuring ourselves against tomorrow.
If you want to keep them guessing, don't do what's expected. Take off the blinders and try something different.
The key is to take intelligent risks, to try new directions, new approaches, and to communicate them clearly and effectively.
You know what you've got to work with, right? You know the game plan and what you're up against. Then you know what you're going to do.
It takes people with ambition, people with vision, people who are willing to listen and eager to win.
Imagination gives you a competitive edge.
Innovation adds value to everything you do.
Kodak looked to a computer company that could build upon their vision of an innovative way to manage information and images. Customized computer systems and service from digital are helping Kodak create information technologies. Not just new products, an entire new market.
Gillette has changed the face of shaving. First, we made it closer. Then we made it smoother. Atra Plus. Its Lubra Smooth Strip actually releases lubricants to glide the razor more smoothly. Incredible smoothness from the first stroke to the last. The Atra Plus system. First we made it closer, then we made it smoother.
Will Clark leads last year's Western Division champs. Braves versus Giants, live. 7:35 Eastern on the Superstation tonight.
Tonight, if you think Fred Sanford has problems, meet Ben Chambers.
I've never been so depressed in my life.
His wife left him for his brother. His business partner ran out on him. And his son.
Fred, my son, has become a Tinkerbell.
Norman, is that you? 10:50 Eastern on the Superstation tonight.
For the 5th pick in the draft, the Golden State Warriors select Mitch Richmond of Kansas State.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mitch Richmond, one of Larry Connolly's favorite players in this draft. 6'5", 225 pounds, 4th leading scorer in the Big 8 on a ball control team, by the way. He was a 2nd-team All-American. Played 2 years at Moberly Community College. He was a JUCO All-American. And from Kansas State comes Mitch Richmond. And Larry, tell us why you like this young man so much.
Bob, the thing I like about him is that he does everything very well. He's a fierce competitor. He likes to get the basketball in clutch situations. He plays well in the big games. He's an outstanding player on both ends. At 6'5" and 225 pounds, I really feel like he's the prototype big guard. Although a lot of people had really poised themselves to see Hersey Hawkins selected as the first big guard, I think we're all kind of shocked that Mitch Richmond is the first big guard picked in the NBA draft. There you saw his run-out ability. He can run the floor and handle it, but he's a great shooter, as evidenced by the fact that this shot in the wing will tell you a little bit about what he can do from the outside. This is an excellent player, definitely a lottery pick. But I got to tell you, Rick, I'm absolutely shocked to see him in that position. Strength, great passer defender, strong, long-range shooter. Weakness, maybe quickness, and all-out speed up and down the court. I'm really shocked by this pick.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not shocked because of Don Nelson. Don Nelson likes players who have the ability to be able to play versatile roles on a ball club. Here's a player that can play the two-guard spot, can play also some small forward, kind of like Paul Pressey at Milwaukee. So it doesn't surprise me that Don Nelson would pick a great athlete like Mitch Richmond.
And playing at Kansas State, he averaged 6 rebounds a game as a guard, which is awfully good, Bob.
A lot of people thought Hersey Hawkins from Bradley would be the first guard selected. It is Mitch Richmond from Kansas State. He is with Craig Sigger right now.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. A lot of people thought that maybe you'd go a little bit later in the first round. Wasn't it a surprise you're going to Golden State?
Oh, yes, it is a big surprise. I thought they would go with the big rebound, the big shot blocker, but it's a surprise.
2 of the first 5 picks are from the Big 8 Conference. Says a lot for the Big 8.
Yes, it is. It shows that we have great talent in the Big 8, too.
Okay, thanks for being with us. Mitch Richmond goes to Golden State. Back to Bob Neal.
So talk about the big guards. Hersey Hawkins is still there. He's been rumored about being involved in a trade if there is one going to come down with Philadelphia and the LA Clippers. And the LA Clippers, who had the first pick and chose Danny Manning, now have the next pick coming up, and that is the 6th pick in the draft. And let's take a look at what's gone on so far, just to set the scene for who has gone to where. Danny Manning went to the Clippers, surprising nobody. Rick Smits, the 7'3". He says he's grown and is near 7'4" now from Marist. Went to Indiana, really helping them at the center as Stepanovic can move over to power forward. Charles Smith went to the 76ers. That's part of that rumored potential trade that could be coming up for this next draft choice, as a matter of fact. Chris Morris from Auburn University went to the New Jersey Nets, and Mitch Richmond has gone to the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Los Angeles Clippers have been hurting at virtually every position, as everybody knows, but the Clippers now, and Gene Shue with his I guess anybody out there would have their job on the line, has got to get well and get well fast.
You know, I take a look at what L.A. has gotten over the last 2 years in the draft. They picked up Joe Wolf and Reggie Williams in the first round last year, and they've got Danny Manning already in the first round this year. There's no question they've got a youth movement going on with the Clippers organization. They've got 3 outstanding players and getting ready to pick a 4th.
Exactly, and if they do make that trade and wind up with Charles Smith, that could be a very awesome front line. 2 young, great players in Smith and also Danny Manning.
And interestingly enough, the Clippers have not had the greatest success in keeping their first-round draft choices. They've drafted some terrific basketball players, but some of them aren't there anymore. Take a look at the number 1 picks. You mentioned Williams and Benoit Benjamin, Michael Cage, Byron Scott at L.A., Cummings at Milwaukee, Tom Chambers at Seattle, Michael Brooks, Adrian Dantley was when the Clippers were the Buffalo Braves. I think that was about 1976 when Adrian Dantley was drafted. So there's been some good picks by the Clippers. They haven't been able to keep them. We'll see what will happen this year. Now we're going to go to David Stern, the NBA commissioner, coming up right now. Here's David Stern.
Yes? For the 6th pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Hersey Hawkins of Bradley.
There is Hersey Hawkins. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He went to Westinghouse High School in Chicago, Illinois. National Player of the Year honors from several prestigious groups like Associated Press, UPI, Sporting News, Consensus All-American. A great player and a great story. Played at the same high school as Mark Aguirre, Westinghouse in Chicago. And Hersey Hawkins, interestingly, Larry Connolly, I chuckled at this because he's 6'3" and a tremendous complete player. Some people said, is 6'3" big enough? Is his size a problem in the NBA?
That's no problem for Hersey Hawkins. You know, the thing I think I like about him the most, he averaged 36 points a game, and you see some of his shooting ability right here. But Rick and Bob, he did it on 23 shots a game. a 36-point-per-game average. He's also the 4th leading scorer all-time in NCAA history. He can shoot it inside, he can shoot it outside. He's a great defender. He does a little bit of everything. And I think a big plus for him is the fact that he played for Stan Albeck at Bradley, who was a former NBA coach, had 3 teams in the NBA, and I think being able to take and convert a coach who's had that type of coaching and taking a player like Hersey Hawkins has really prepared him for NBA play. So when you look at Hersey Hawkins, yeah, he's the second guard pick, but he can do a lot of things well, like scoring. He can deliver the pass. He's a strong rebounder for a guard and a great defender. And much like Danny Manning, I'm still looking for some weaknesses. I haven't found many.
Now, once again, we think that Hersey Hawkins may have been selected by the Clippers as part of a deal that could involve Charles Smith, who was selected by Philadelphia in the 3rd round. Rick Barry, talk a little bit about that, and let's go ahead and project, even though the deal hasn't been made yet, how a player like Charles Smith could fit at L.A. and Hersey Hawkins at Philadelphia if that were to happen.
Well, again, I think Charles Smith playing alongside Danny Manning could produce one of the outstanding front lines in professional basketball. Both of those players could play either of the positions in the forward positions, run the court exceptionally well, have great talents. Hersey Hawkins playing for Philadelphia, I think, would give the 76ers one of the outstanding backcourts of the league. You put Hersey Hawkins next to Maurice Cheeks, and you've got a dynamite backcourt combination there. And talking to Stan Albeck, Stan said, Rick, you would love to play with this young man. He can score points, but he's an unselfish player, and as Larry pointed out, he can do everything on the basketball court, and he's been showing it, and he did show it during the Olympic tryouts.
And probably some nervous people out in Los Angeles, because we understand there's another element to make a trade happen if one is going to happen, so there may be some nail-biting going on. Let's go to my friend Steve Jones, who's in Los Angeles.
All right, Bob Neal, there's some nail-biting. All the people out here are saying keep Hersey Hawkins, keep Michael Cage, but it appears that the speculation of a trade of Michael Cage to Seattle is now a lot firmer with the selection of Hersey Hawkins. The deal was contingent on Mitch Richmond or Hersey Hawkins being available for them to pick. We'll see what the reaction is. Earlier, the crowd booed when they thought that Michael Cage was going to leave Los Angeles.
Thank you, Steve Jones, and we have Hersey Hawkins with Craig Sager right now.
Bob, with me is Hersey Hawkins. First of all, your reaction to going when you did and possibly being traded already?
Well, I'm just happy to be in the situation that I am and be able to be picked in the 1st round. And if I get traded, then you just have to take it in stride, because there's really nothing you can do about it.
We've heard rumors about Philadelphia maybe wanting Hersey Hawkins. Have you heard those? And what do you find out when you're sitting out there with your colleagues?
I don't know. You find out you're more nervous than you think you are. So it's just good to be picked and hopefully have it all over with.
The first time Philadelphia was mentioned to you, I believe Shelton Jones told you. How do you get the inside scoop?
I have no idea. I'm going to go out there and ask them.
You grew up in the playgrounds of Chicago. A lot of great players, Isaiah Thomas, Doc Rivers, Mark Aguirre. Who did you emulate growing up, and who was your hero?
And I think Dr. J probably, along with a million other kids, idolized Dr. J and the way that he played and the way he handled himself out off the court. And I think if everybody tried to be like that, then, you know, in the NBA it'd be a lot better.
Thank you very much. Hersey Hawkins. Back to Bob Neal.
Up next in the draft, the 7th pick will belong to Phoenix, but number 8 will be the Charlotte Hornets, one of the 2 new entries in the NBA, and you know the tension is high in Charlotte. We've got our tension expert there now. Let's go to Paul Ryden.
Yeah, I'm tense, Bob. The 8th pick is drawing there. And the party atmosphere, as you can hear behind me, still continues in Charlotte. They're not too tense here. That's a front office problem. The speculation centers on 2 guys, 2 big guys that they need. Tim Perry out of Temple, possibly, or Ronnie Cycli out of Syracuse, maybe even guard Rex Chapman out of Kentucky. But as I say, that's a front office problem. This party is for the fans. So let's talk a little bit to them and see what they think about what's going on. Ben Black from Charlotte, North Carolina is here. And what do you think, Ben? Who do they ought to go to? All those guys are still available.
I hope Tim Perry. That's my choice. But we have a good front office with George Chin and his staff. They really have put together a good program for us. But my choice is Tim Perry.
Well, it sounds like a lot of people here in Charlotte agree with you. You guys have waited a long time for this, and some people said it couldn't be done. You guys got to be excited about the Hornets coming to Charlotte.
The spirit is really here in Charlotte. We are really excited about it.
Okay, well, they've already got 11 players in the dispersal draft, but there's something exciting about that first college pick, and we're going to see what it is shortly. Right now, let's go back to Bob Neal in New York.
Thank you, Paul. And we're going to the commissioner, David Stern.
For the 7th pick in the draft, the Phoenix Suns select Tim Perry of Temple University.
Tim Perry is 6'9", 200 pounds from Temple. Freehold, New Jersey is his hometown. He was the MVP in all tourney at the Orlando Classic. And Larry Connolly, he's one of the players who really moved up in the eyes of a lot of scouts when he played at that tournament of the graduating seniors of the available players down at Orlando.
Bob, you know the NBA runs 3 camps prior to the draft. One is in Portsmouth, Virginia, one in Orlando, and then the big one in Chicago. I was in Orlando to watch Tim Perry play, and I thought he played as well as anybody down there. Obviously, he did, was the MVP of the tournament. He was also the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year. At 6'9" and 200 pounds, he's a scorer, he's a rebounder, and he's got great quickness. He played on a #1 team in the nation this year, Temple's Owls, that really had as good a backcourt combination as you'd want to find. Watch this. That was a rebound by Perry, an outlet pass by Perry, and look who finishes the play off, Tim Perry on the other end. This is one thing he does well. He can run the floor, he looks for the players, he's a good passer, and he can catch the ball inside and wheel to the basket. John Chaney's done an awfully good job of getting this young man ready to play in the NBA because he's had 2 great years at Temple. His strengths, he's got an inside jumper and hook shot. His timing and his rebounding and his blocking of shots, he had 118 of them this year. Good speed and quickness. He needs that weight upside, Rick Barry. He's got great ball handling skills for a big man.
Well, again, the weight is no problem whatsoever as far as I'm concerned, Larry, and I can see him doing a very fine job at the Phoenix Suns opposite Armin Gilliam down there, so it should work out very nicely. And let's go to Craig Sager right now as he has Tim Perry with him.
Freehold, New Jersey, the home of Bruce Springsteen and Tim Perry. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
What do you know about Phoenix?
Well, I've been out there one time. I know the weather's very hot out there. The time when I went out there was like 113.
Wow. You're nervous out there? We talked to Hersey Hawkins. He says it's worse than he ever imagined, sitting out there wondering where he's going to be drafted.
Well, in the beginning I was nervous, but the longer you sit in the chair, you get more nervous. So I was pretty nervous after a while.
Well, thanks a lot. Good luck. See you in the Phoenix Suns uniform. Tim Perry. Up next, the 2 expansion teams, Charlotte and Miami, their first picks ever in the NBA draft. Stay tuned on Superstation TBS as the NBA draft continues from the Felt Forum in New York.
I call on the New York Knicks to make the first pick. Patrick Ewing.
Here's Michael Jordan.
How did you feel when your basket sent the game into overtime?
I felt
You're beyond compare.
beautiful.
'Cause gentle treatment is the one that relaxes and repairs for soft, smooth, silky hair.
Can I do a star on you and your beautiful hair?
Well,
Gentle treatment for fine to medium hair and gentle treatment extra for coarse-resistant hair.
Go over Jeep Cherokee's advantages, and certain things stand out. Cherokee gives you a choice of 2 or 4 doors, 2 shift-on-the-fly 4-wheel drive systems, and an optional 4-liter 6-cylinder engine that's more powerful, far more powerful, than anything in its class. All of this is precisely why 4-Wheel and Off-Road magazine named Jeep Cherokee 4x4 of the Year for the 2nd time.
Save up to $2,050 on selected Jeep vehicles, America's winners.
I just bought a set of Michelins.
You could have saved some money on another brand.
Why take chances when a Michelin's only a little more?
A tire's a tire.
My last set of Michelins got 60,000 miles.
Tell me the truth. Didn't you buy them just for the name?
Yeah. The name is Jackie.
Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Odious, contemptible, deplorable. I'm speaking of offending in the personal grooming arena. Something I would, of course, consider quite beyond the pale. So I give you a new Red Guard Sport Stick, antiperspirant and deodorant. When one needs to seek maximum protection and a fresh new scent, one should grab oneself one of these Red Guard Sport Sticks because one would hate to be considered malodorous by one's chums. Now, wouldn't one? New Red Guard Sport Sticks from Gillette. Anything less would be uncivilized.
Next up, for the first draft ever in the history of that franchise, the Charlotte Hornets. They need everything. They need basketballs, nets. They've got a gym. They need fans, stands, but they also need players. Now, of course, both of these new teams had the expansion draft where they selected players who were left unprotected by NBA teams. And they did it in two different ways. Charlotte really went for a lot of young players. They think they'll probably keep a lot of theirs. Miami made some trades in their deal. But we're going to go to David Stern, the commissioner, now for Charlotte's pick.
For the 8th pick in the draft and their first in the NBA, the Charlotte Hornets select Rex Chapman of Kentucky.
Coming out of the University of Kentucky after his sophomore year, Rex Chapman, just 21 years old, in this coming October. He is a 6'4.5" guard, 185-pound guard. Rex Chapman has been selected as the first draft choice ever by the Charlotte Hornets. Let's go to Paul Ryden now in Charlotte, North Carolina.
This selection belongs to the Miami.
Well, Bob, there are 12 players on the Charlotte Hornets. 8 of them now are guards. One of them is sitting with me, Del Curry. Del, your reaction to the selection of Rex Chapman today?
I don't know. A lot of people think he's a big man, but maybe the trade may hurt me or Rex. It's hard to say.
Okay, now you've come off of a playoff team. Now, obviously, the people back here are excited about it, so there's got to be something in the draft. But let's talk about you right now. The fact that you were with Cleveland, finally got to the playoffs, and now you're going to be with an expansion team.
Well, it's a new start for me. I'm going to get, if I'm here, I'm going to get quality time, game in and game out. And I think if I get that, I'll be able to put up some pretty good numbers.
How has the city of Charlotte been treating the Hornets who have come in here and brought this new team here?
Oh, they're very excited. You know, it's really the most major professional team they have in Charlotte, so everybody's real excited about the franchise.
So you're looking forward to, you know, it's interesting when you start with a playoff, or when you start with a team like this, you know you're only going to win probably 25 games maybe. Is that tough getting yourself psyched up for that?
It is, but you have to remember that the franchise isn't going to be made in 1 year. It's going to take 3, 4, 5 years, so you have to be able to deal with that.
Okay, best of luck to you, Dell, and Rex Chapman the pick. Let's go back now to New York and Bob Neal.
Thank you, Paul Ryden. Rex Chapman came out after his sophomore year, surprising a lot of folks leaving Eddie Sutton's team. A tremendous athlete, has a vertical leap of 39 inches. And Larry Connolly, a former Wildcat yourself, what about Rex Chapman?
I got to tell you what, I'm absolutely shocked at that pick. The first freshman ever to lead Kentucky in scoring. He shows you what he can do on the inside. A good baseline drive right there. But I think the one thing this young man has more confidence in than any part of his game is his outside shooting. He can take it out there and get his own shot or use the screen to get open. Strengths, he can run, jump, and shoot with the best of them. Great quickness, good shooting range. He does need weight. Maybe lacks a little aggressiveness and only 2 years of college. And Rick Barry, I got to tell you, I am absolutely shocked at that pick. The big guards are dominating this play.
Well, I'm really surprised too, Larry. I think that eventually Rex Chapman will be an outstanding professional player. I think he does need some seasoning. But for the expansion Charlotte team to pick another guard after having all those guards after they did it in the expansion pick, that is a shocker. I thought for sure that Will Perdue or perhaps Ronnie Cycli would have gone to that ball club. They need some help in the middle. They need some big people. Now they've got a lot of guards. I would imagine Carl Shearer has got some plans up his sleeves to do a little bit of moving with some of his players.
And I'll tell you a question I have, and we're going to ask Craig Sager to ask that along with some others as we meet Rex Chapman now, and that is, as a sophomore, why take the chance now in the NBA?
Did you ever have second thoughts about leaving after your sophomore year, sitting out there? Why take the chance now?
Well, out there, you definitely get second thoughts. It's definitely nerve-wracking.
So many guards on that Charlotte roster. You surprised you went there?
Well, I haven't really talked that much with Charlotte, but I understand it's really a great city, a growing city, and anxious to get a basketball team underway.
When you made the decision to leave, you went to some of these camps, and you had some poor performances at first, started to play a little bit better. Why the turnaround? Did you have second thoughts at that time?
Well, no, not really, but it was just a lot of different things in my life had changed. I made some big decisions, and now I'm starting to really feel comfortable with them, and I'm really glad I did it.
Okay, Rex Chapman, the first pick ever by the Charlotte Hornets. We'll find out who's up next for Miami. Let's go to Bob Neal.
Here's a young man who won't be 21 until October. Everybody's got to wonder. He's a sophomore. Can a sophomore leave college and come into the NBA and find happiness and success? Some don't, but some do. As a matter of fact, there have been stars in the NBA who have been early entries as early as sophomores. Let's take a look back at turn the old clock on the wall back just a bit, as a matter of fact, and talk about some of the early entry all-stars. After leading Michigan State to the title in '79, Irvin Johnson decided to take his magic to the pros. Was he successful? Well, absolutely. DePaul's Mark Aguirre felt he was ready in '81. His scoring was taken to the Dallas Mavericks, and they went to the conference finals where they pushed L.A. to 7 games earlier this month. Mark Aguirre left college as an early entry. He was not a sophomore. Isaiah Thomas was a sophomore, though, when he left Indiana, a playground teammate of Aguirre. Pistons forced the Lakers to 7 games a week ago, thanks to Isaiah's 43 points in Game 6. Another early entry, Charles Barkley, took his power game from Auburn to Philadelphia. He developed more than anybody could predict it. He has replaced Julius Erving as that team's leader. And another early entry into the draft, Michael Jordan has almost done it all in basketball. NCAA title, Olympic gold, scoring titles, slam dunk crown, an MVP. But he's years from peaking out, so early entries, yes, they can make it. Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas were early entries, and of course now a sophomore coming from Kentucky, Rex Chapman. Now to David Stern, NBA Commissioner.
9th pick in the draft, and they're first in the NBA. The Miami Heat select Ron Seikaly from Syracuse University. The next selection belongs to the San Antonio Spurs.
So Ron Seikaly becomes the first big man to go since Manning and Smits went 1-2, and then Charles Smith. 3 of the first 8 selections in this draft have been big guards. But now a big man, Ronnie Seikaly, 6'11", 240, hometown Athens, Greece. At Syracuse University. He was a 4-year starter at center there. Some people question, Larry Connolly, whether Ronnie Seikaly will be ready to play in all the ball games.
Well, a lot of people have asked me that too, and I've watched this young man play for 4 years, and you can see some of the ability he has on the inside. Good pump fake right here. He's 6'11", and at 240, I think he could play the big forward position as well as play the center. I know Miami's drafting him for the center position, but you may want to look at him for that other position. Watch him go out on the floor right here. Take the pass on the other side and come right in and jam the basketball. He's got great versatility, Rick Barry. He can go up and down the floor. He can run. He can handle it. And the one thing I like about him is we look at his strengths and weaknesses. He does have speed up and down the court. Nice touch. He's got a pro body. And I think the weaknesses and maybe some things that ought to be talked about are his consistency and maybe his passing skills and his very poor free throw shooting.
Well, I can get him on the free throw line and straighten him out there, Larry. But I tell you, I think that what we're seeing happening here in the draft is that a lot of teams are taking the better athletes. That's why you've seen the big men slip down in the draft and you haven't seen so many picked, because there really are somewhat of a type of projects. And I think Ronnie Seikaly is one. He hasn't played a lot of competitive basketball, but I do think that he is the best pick that they could have taken. He has an opportunity now to get a lot of experience playing a lot of time down there with Miami. You can see he's only the second of the centers being picked. And again, I do think, Larry, it's because of the fact that the guards, especially the big guards, and also the forwards are more talented athletes, and they can have more of an impact on their teams. And Ronnie Seikaly finally getting a chance to play for an expansion team will help him a lot. I like the young man. I got to meet him in the World Championships, and I think that he will be a player.
So Ronnie Seikaly, hometown Athens, Greece, college Syracuse. He's with Craig Sigert.
Thank you, Bob. From Syracuse to Miami, I'd say the heat definitely is on. How do you feel about going to sunny Miami?
Well, it's going to be a big change for me, especially after playing in the snows of Syracuse. It's definitely going to be exciting playing in some heat.
What about some of your teammates? What do you know about the roster they selected in the expansion draft?
Well, all I know is they have one former player from Syracuse that I played with, Dwayne Washington, and maybe we can hook up for some good basketball in the future.
Okay, Ronnie Seikaly, the first pick ever by the Miami Heat in the NBA draft. And the NBA draft will continue from New York on Superstation TBS.
For the opening of the new movie Caddyshack 2, the Miller Brewing Company held a private screening for the critics.
A sensitive and moving drama. Stimulating on many levels.
Richly rewarding. Is there any money in it for me? Miller's rewarding movie ticket offer makes Caddyshack 2 a must-see. Look for details wherever Miller High Life, Light, and Genuine Draft are sold, and stock up.
I just love openings.
with an optional 4-liter monster under its hood. Jeep Comanche doesn't just stand apart. It stands alone.
Save up to $2,050 on selected Jeep vehicles. America's winners.
If you can dream it, you can do it. Today, the Prudential can show you a new world of financial opportunities. Look to the Rock for mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. Feel its strength in CDs, insurance, and mortgages. With the right choices, the right guidance, the sky's the limit. The Prudential. Your rock in financial services.
How does the Players Club card work? Like magic. In Las Vegas, Atlantic City, the Caribbean, Reno, Lake Tahoe, even on cruise ships. Just show your Players Club card and save on room. Show the card and save on shows. And save on food. And how about 2 free room nights in Las Vegas or Atlantic City when you use our Super Saver airfare? For the most exciting times of your life, call Players Club now.
All the highlights, all the excitement. Join the Superstation for a recap of the 1988 NBA Draft. 10:20 Eastern on the Superstation tonight. Tonight, if you think Fred Sanford has problems, meet Ben Chambers.
I've never been so depressed in my life.
His wife left him for his brother. His business partner ran out on him. And his son.
I'm afraid my son has become a Tinkerbell.
Norman, is that you? 10:50 Eastern on the Superstation tonight.
San Antonio Spurs, Larry Brown, their new head coach. Let's see who they're going to pick. David Stern, NBA commissioner, is ready.
For the 10th pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Willie Anderson of Georgia.
Willie Anderson of Georgia is a 6'7", 190-pound guard, and he can actually play 3 positions. He can play big guard, point guard, and even some small forward. He played some small forward early in his career at the University of Georgia. In his senior year there, he led the Bulldogs in scoring, assists, and block shots.
And Bobby's also the number 8 scorer in Georgia history. You can see right here he can handle the basketball. Play 3 positions, versatility, he does it all. How about that for a move? Go right down the middle. That's against Kentucky's team. Now watch on the other end up here. He can also give you the individual moves that are so necessary to make it in the NBA. Watch this 360-degree move on the inside in traffic. Willie Anderson is one of those players that we talked about at the top of the show. You talk about versatility, he has it. 3 positions. Quick shot release, runs and sees the court well. Maybe his weight and his strength are a problem. I know we've talked a lot about this, but he's only 190 pounds at 6'7". But Rick, he can really handle the basketball.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I remember another guy a long time ago that was 190 and 6'7" who went into the NBA and really couldn't handle the ball all that well. I'm talking about myself, and I seem to make it okay. And I really think that strength is a relative thing, and he'll be able to develop that. But he's a Larry Brown type of basketball player, and I really think that Larry Brown will make him into an outstanding professional ball player. The big question with me and Larry down there with San Antonio, I think the biggest adjustment for Larry Brown is going to be how he handles his talent. You have to treat the pro players a little bit different than the college players, and I'm sure Larry is quite aware of that, and it'll be very interesting to see how they respond. The luxury I think he has is that he has a lot of young players, and I think young players are more receptive to the teaching type of coach that Larry Brown is.
He's got some great guards down in San Antonio, too. I mean, the rotation he's got now with Willie Anderson coming in there, I think really make the Spurs something to contend with in the backcourt.
Well, no question about it, and Larry likes a versatile type of player, and he'll be able to use Willie Anderson a lot of different ways, and if these young people keep developing, and of course with the addition of David Robinson to that team, and the speculation that he may be there next year, we don't know that yet, that's going to be an outstanding team in the future.
Yeah, Larry Brown is not walking in to chop liver down there in San Antonio. They'll be heard from soon. Now, we talked earlier about rumors of deals and trades going on ever since the 3rd pick of Philadelphia. Roy S. Johnson has an update on that. Let's go to him now. Well, some problems with the microphone of Roy S. Johnson. We'll get that information and pass it along to you in just a moment. Next up in the NBA draft here on the Superstation will be the Chicago Bulls at number 11. And that is a pick that the Bulls picked up in the deal they made earlier with the New York Knicks. In case you joined us late and missed that story, the Chicago Bulls traded rebounding power forward Charles Oakley to the New York Knicks for Bill Cartwright, and the two teams also swapped their positions. 11 and 19 in this draft. So the New York Knicks will be picking later in the draft, and the Bulls now have an opportunity to draft. And when you think about the Chicago Bulls, they're without Oakley, their great rebounder. They did get a post-up inside scorer in Cartwright, but you have to think that the Bulls now might have to go to draft a rebounder. Perhaps somebody like a Mark Brandt, perhaps somebody, a Bryant from Seton Hall, perhaps somebody who's a post player, a rebounder, a shot blocker like a Purdue at Vanderbilt. We'll find out. Let's go to the commissioner. Here's David Roberts. Here's David
For the
Stern.
11th pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls select Will Purdue of Vanderbilt.
So the Bulls get a 7-footer, 240 pounds from Vanderbilt. He's an excellent shot blocker, a good inside scorer, and an excellent rebounder. He led the SEC in rebounding, averaging 10 rebounds a game. So they give up a rebounder at Oakley, but they get a player who has more potential in terms of scoring, rebounding, and shot blocking in Will Purdue, Larry Connolly.
Bob, I think the one thing I like about Chicago's pick is the fact that they've got Cartwright coming, and now they've got a good man to back him up and develop. Watch his shot blocking ability right here. Swats this one away, and he is big. He's 7 feet. He was the SEC Athlete of the Year. No, not just Basketball Player of the Year, Athlete of the Year. Watch him swat it away again. Rick, I think this is the most improved basketball player in this 1988 crop. He went from averaging 2 points a game his freshman year to 3 to 17 his junior year and 18 this past year. C.M. Newton's done remarkable things to bring this young man along. He's unselfish. He's an excellent shooter. He's a potent inside force. He's got great strength. The only thing he needs some creativity in his game. He's very mechanical.
Well, those are things that you can learn, Larry. I think it's a situation where the Chicago Bulls now have gone from having no really true center to having 2 true centers. That means that Dave Corzine could fill in and play some power forward. Bill Cartwright also has seen some duty there. They could run a twin tower situation if Purdue comes along. I would think that the Bulls have to be very pleased with this move, and in the long haul, it's going to be more beneficial for them who have made that trade, gotten Cartwright, and with Purdue backing them up, I would expect the Bulls to be a better basketball team.
I agree with that. And the thing I like about it, as I said when I started talking about Purdue, is the fact that he'll have a little time to groom himself, and he's got a good teacher in Doug Collins.
Definitely a great teacher in Doug Collins, and getting an opportunity to play with an experienced player like Bill Cartwright and practice all the time is going to help make him better.
So the Chicago Bulls get Will Purdue. Remember also he has probably the biggest feet in pro basketball now, size 21-7A. Enough said. Let's go to Craig Sager right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Will Purdue, a couple of years ago, averaging 2 points a game, watching the NBA draft on TV. Did you ever think you'd be sitting right here?
No, not really. I always thought I'd be sitting out in the audience watching.
What about playing with the big men in Chicago?
Well, I just, feel with my passing skills, I'll just be able to get him the ball. Hopefully that'll help Chicago out.
Michael Jordan, you watch him on TV a lot, but man, what a thrill to be able to play with him.
It's a dream come true for anybody to, be able to play with a player like that.
Okay, Will Purdue, of course, going to the Chicago Bulls. We also have a surprise for you. Mark Jackson from the New York Knicks is here. He's been watching the draft. One of the favorites. A year ago, everybody in the audience was chanting Mark Jackson. They wanted you to go to the Knicks, but what was it like to have to sit out there and wait until the 18th pick?
Well, it was torture. It was something that I'll remember and cherish for the rest of my life. So I can really sit there and understand what all the guys are going through. But I'm just here to lend my support to a couple of friends I have in the draft and really wishing them well.
What about the trade? Cartwright to Chicago for Charles Oakley.
Well, that was a great trade. I think it's going to enhance the Knicks' future. You got a quality power forward, one of the best in the game, a guy who can rebound and throw the outlet pass as good as anybody in the game, and I'm really looking forward to hooking up with him.
We said Will Purdue is probably the most improved player in college last year. The Knicks probably the most improved team, and they're getting better. Thanks for being with us. The NBA Draft continues on Superstation TBS.
For the 18th pick in the 1987 NBA Draft, the New York Knickerbockers select Mark Jackson.
Right now, the only thing that would taste better than a nice cold one is a cold filtered one. Yeah, if you want a beer whose real draft taste hasn't been changed by heat pasteurization, we've got it down cold. Cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft.
How did you feel when your basket sent the game into overtime?
I felt
You're beyond compare.
beautiful.
'Cause gentle treatment is the one that relaxes and repairs for soft, smooth, silky hair.
Can I do a stir on you and your beautiful hair?
Well,
Gentle treatment for fine to medium hair and gentle treatment extra for coarse-resistant hair.
Gillette has changed the face of shaving. First, we made it closer. Then we made it smoother. Atra Plus. Its Lubra Smooth Strip actually releases lubricants to glide the razor more smoothly. Incredible smoothness from the first stroke to the last. The Atra Plus system. First we made it closer, then we made it smoother.
Jack Rooney just tuned up his car, but he forgot to change something very important. His engine belts.
After 4 years, belts can break anytime. So don't take chances. Next tune-up, get Gates belts. More mechanics install Gates and more people rely on them than any other belt made. Remember, if your car's 4 years old, get Gates before it's too late.
For the 12th pick in the draft, the Washington Bullets select Harvey Grant from the University of Oklahoma.
Harvey Grant, who led the Big Eight in rebounding last year. His twin brother Horace plays at the Chicago Bulls. The similarity is astounding. Good thing Chicago didn't get him. Horace and Harvey would have driven Doug Collins crazy trying to figure out who was who. You might remember, to just set the scene on the background of this young man in college, he played at Independence Junior College after leaving Clemson during his freshman year. While at Independence, he verbally committed to attend both Kentucky and Georgia State, ended up at Oklahoma.
Bobby, 6'9", he's 205 pounds, again on the thin side. Oklahoma's offense really was dictated by pushing the ball to the inside. Grant on one side and Stacey King on the other, and it was a terrific tandem on the inside because both players can shoot the basketball. You saw Grant on the inside. He can also do it on the outside. Look at this little move and the pull-up jumper from about 15 feet. I like him because he can go inside and outside. Strengths, good shooter to 15 feet. Ball handling and passing ability, quick release on his jump shot. Weakness, needs some bulk on that upper body. And he doesn't take the ball to the hoop with authority. I think that's the one thing in watching him play this year that I thought maybe I could criticize the most. And there's not a lot to criticize about this young man because he does shoot it well from the outside.
Well, Larry, I agree with your analysis there. I think he, again, not only does he look like his brother, he plays a lot like his brother. They're very similar players. I think that Horace had a great year for Chicago. Doug Collins thought he came along admirably. If he can do the same thing that his brother did, he's going to be a fine addition to the Washington team. I think he'll play a lot. I think any player who plays the big forward position, who can rebound, but also can take it out to 15 feet and shoot, is invaluable. That's why he's going to be an outstanding pro.
You think he's going to step in and play next year then?
I think he has an opportunity to step in and play. It might not be immediately, but he will be a starter for that team before the year's out. That's what I feel.
And Washington may very well need him inside because, remember, Moses Malone is a free agent. Let's go now to Craig Sager.
Well, thank you very much. It's amazing. Grady May, your mother, is sitting out there, and she was saying one pick earlier, we could have had the Towering Twins together in Chicago.
Yeah, it would have been a family reunion again.
What's it like to sit out there? We talked to a couple of players. Was it tough for you?
Oh, it was really tough once the eighth player went and things really got really sticky. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Gary, and he's sweating a little bit over there.
How do you feel about going to the Washington Bullets?
Oh, I think it would be a very good experience just to get drafted. And I visited Washington. They're a pretty nice team.
Okay, the two Grant brothers now in the NBA, but on separate teams. Back to Bob Neal.
All right, 12 picks have been made in the first round. Milwaukee Bucks will be coming up in just a moment. Let's have a look at how the draft stacks up right here after we've been doing this now for about an hour and a half. The first pick was surprising nobody, Danny Manning, followed by Smits, Charles Smith. And remember, with Philadelphia, there's a rumor that pick will be traded. Chris Morris went to the Nets. Mitch Richmond, the guard from Kansas State, to the Warriors. Hersey Hawkins, the guard, went to the Clippers. Tim Perry, the forward from Temple, to the Phoenix Sun. Rex Chapman, surprising my buddy Larry Connolly here by going to the Charlotte Hornets as their first ever draft pick. Ronnie Cycli, the power forward center, went to the Miami Heat. Willie Anderson, the swing guard, three-position player, to the Spurs. Will Perdue, the post-up shot-blocking center, goes to the Bulls. Harvey Grant,
goes to the Washington Bullets. So, gentlemen, in a thumbnail, Larry, analysis up through 12.
Well, I want to go back through the first 10 picks. 4 of the first 10 picks were guards. And I think that's a big surprise to me because all of the wisdom in the NBA tells you pick centers, pick big guys. And Rick and I were talking about this. They haven't done that. They've gone with quality. Not saying the centers aren't quality, but I'm just saying I think the positions of big guard and small forward have more quality in them this year than they have in the past.
Yes, it really has, and I really think that it's interesting that nobody's even looked at a point guard, showing you what the scouts obviously think of the point guard crop in this particular draft. But it is a situation where teams are looking for the more talented athletes, an old trite cliche that comes around a lot, but you can see the guys that are still left out there. You see the Bullets and Bucks are the only NBA teams that haven't made a selection in the top 5 of any of the drafts, but still some very anxious young men out there. But again, I think we're going to see this continuing. I think we're going to see players picked who are really outstanding athletes, players who have some versatility to play different positions. That's what the coaches like to have, and that's what I think will continue with perhaps maybe 2 or 3 more picks before we even get to a point guard.
Well, Milwaukee is due to come up next, and Milwaukee could certainly use somebody inside, but also Milwaukee could use a lead guard. I might mention who's out there. Strickland, Grant, Keith Smart. Let's go to David Stern. For the 13th pick in the draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Jeff Grayer of Iowa State. There's Jeff Grayer, another big guard. He's 6'4", 205 pounds, and led the Big 8 in scoring. Larry Connolly, the Big 8, has virtually produced what could be a team here of tremendous players.
I was telling Rick earlier, I really felt like that this probably, if I could select 5 guys off of the Big 8 this year, I believe I could put together an NBA team that could challenge for the championship in about 2 years. And this is one of them. Here's a young man who led the Big 8 in scoring with a 25-point-per-game average. He's Iowa State's all-time leading scorer, over 2,500 points, and he's their 4th leading rebounder, 910 rebounds in 4 years. He does a little bit of everything. He's labeled as a great shooter, but he displays this prototype Grayer jumper right there. He played on a team that really had kind of a roller coaster ride all year long. They were up and down in the mid part of the season. They really took a dive and then came back late in the year. But this is a young man that can do a little bit of everything. As you can see, he can handle the ball between 2 defenders right there, so he's got the good open court movement. Now watch him pull up and take this jump shot. This is a good player, Rick Barry, that I think is going to contribute a great deal to Milwaukee because he's one of those swing-type players. He's a good post-up player for a guard, very tenacious on defense. In fact, was on the all-defensive team for 4 years on that Big 8 club. A great shooter, maybe lacks a little bit in quickness, but that's all set on the scales for what he can do on the positive side.
Well, we see the trend continuing, picking the more versatile type player. Fits right in with the Milwaukee Bucks philosophy. Del Harris sort of likes what Don Nelson likes to do. Get a player who has versatility, a guy who can play perhaps some 2 and some 3 for them. And I think that Jeff Grayer fits right into that mold, and that's the type of player they were looking for. They've got a fine athlete, and they do have an exceptional player.
The thing I like about him is the fact that he shoots the ball very well from outside, but he can also take it inside. He posts up well for a guy who's 6'4".
Well, he's a very strong 6'4".
Well, you can see the big guards checklist. Kiss them goodbye. They've all joined somebody's team. Let's now join Craig Sager.
Thank you very much, Bob. Danny Manning may have dominated the news in the Big 8 this year, but Jeff Grayer, the leading scorer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're from Flint, Michigan, went to Iowa State. How do you feel about staying in the Midwest?
Well, it's a good feeling. I'm going to have a chance to play with the Milwaukee Bucks. They have a great tradition there, and they're just a great staff. I have at least another year to get a chance to play with Sidney Moncrief. They signed him for another year, so it'll be a good experience.
You played small forward in college. We have you projected as a big guard with Milwaukee. What adjustment is that for you?
Well, it's a big adjustment. That's a big step within itself. Just to get a chance to get at the guard position. I haven't played it in college at all, so there are a lot of things I'm going to have to get used to doing on the floor.
Okay, well, thanks for being with us. Back to Bob Neal.
Coming up next will be Phoenix with a pick they obtained from Cleveland in the Larry Nance deal. We'll see who they pick right after this.
Jeep designed Cherokee to give you more than any other vehicle of its kind. Like a choice of 2 or 4 doors and room for 5 adults. And now you can get Cherokee with an optional 4-liter 6-cylinder engine that has more power, a lot more power, than anything in its class. All of this is precisely why 4-Wheel and Off-Road magazine named Jeep Cherokee 4x4 of the year for the 2nd time.
Save up to $2,050 on selected Jeep vehicles. America's winners.
Right now, the only thing that would taste better than a nice cold one is a cold filtered one.
Miller Genuine Draft. Hot, isn't it?
Yeah, if you want a beer whose real draft taste hasn't been changed by heat pasteurization, we've got it down cold. Cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft.
It's as real as it gets.
We go above and beyond just like you, above and beyond what we have to do.
I'm a Prudential representative, and I help people review their life insurance needs because I know how much the right life insurance means to me and my family.
You take pride in your life, so do we. Going above and beyond is our policy. The Rock, the Prudential, above and beyond.
Now, the final chapter, students, in Bosworth's book of etiquette, personal hygiene. How will you separate yourselves from those barbaric hordes that exude a most malodorous air? New Ride Guard Sports Stick from Gillette. Maximum protection and a fresh new scent. A veritable olfactory medley. New Ride Guard Sports Stick. Anything less would be uncivilized. Raise your glasses, gentlemen, to civilization.
The 1988 NBA Draft will recap what happens for you and put some perspective to it tonight after it's all over, immediately following the Atlanta Braves game that'll be at approximately 10:20. And now let's join David Stern for the announcement of the 14th pick.
For the 14th pick in the draft, the Phoenix Suns select Dan Marley of Central Michigan University.
Dan Marley. Well, remember Ben Poquette came from Central Michigan, the Chippewas. So did Danny Roundfield. And here's a young man who earlier in the year, some scouts liked him even during the season, but he really impressed in the postseason play.
Oh, this is a really tough kid. I called Charlie Coles, his coach, up there and asked him about this young man because he's been getting so much ink recently. He was the most valuable player in the Portsmouth tournament for the NBA. He's one of those kind of guys, Charlie Cole says, that is fundamentally sound. He does everything well. He's sound, offensive rebounder. He puts the ball on the floor well. His only weakness, and this is interesting, is his jump shot from 14 to 15 feet. And I said, Charlie, why is that so? He says, because I have him shooting threes from 18 feet and scoring inside, but I don't know what he can do in the middle.
That really is quite interesting, and I think that's a problem any coach would like to have with a young man like Marley. Marley has been most impressive in the Olympic tryouts. Everybody was talking about his aggressiveness, the way he can shoot the basketball, his dedication to the game. I think that this is a player that a lot of teams would like to have. The people who are picking below this 14th pick, they would love to have gotten their hands on him. I think he would have been a great player for the Knicks had he hung around that long. But as you can see, everybody's gotten a word on him. They picked him ahead of some other outstanding forwards. A guy like Derek Chevius, who had been rated higher than Marley prior to the postseason play. Obviously, the teams have thought that Marley has made some improvements, and they're worried about Derek.
And Rick, this is also a player that has a chance of making the Olympic team. I mean, a lot of people have not heard about this young man all year long. He's not one of those guys that's a marquee guy, but he certainly is a sound, fundamental player.
Now, we were talking earlier about trade possibilities. We tried to go to Roy S. Johnson, our reporter on the floor, had microphone troubles. That's been corrected, and let's see what Roy knows right now. Roy?
All right, here we are. Fans in Los Angeles may not be too happy to hear this, but this is the latest situation we have on the Michael Cage trade. The Seattle Supersonics will probably pick a point guard, Gary Grant from Michigan. From there, Michael Cage will be traded to the Supersonics for 2 #1 draft picks, the number 15 pick this year and possibly the middle selection next year. The Sonics have 3 #1 draft picks in next year's college draft, and one of them will go to the Clippers along with the 15th pick this year. Back to you, Bob.
Okay, so that starts making a little bit more sense with Philadelphia, Los Angeles Clippers, and Seattle. And Rick Barry, you have a strange, questioning look on your face.
No, I'll tell you, I think that the Los Angeles Clippers are having an incredible draft here. If they go ahead and make this deal, that means that Charles Smith is going to join the team along with Danny Manning, 2 of the finest players in the draft this year. And if it's true that they're going to go and get the first pick of Seattle, which they say may be one of the point guards, And if it is a point guard, Gary Grant or someone of that nature, that means that Gary Grant goes down there to play with those two players. And you talk about the young players they had before with Joe Wolf and Reggie Williams. I mean, this is a team that you're going to have to look out for. A lot of nice talent on that Los Angeles Clipper team.
And Rick, I think the thing that you and I were talking about earlier, the fact that Gene Shue is such a good teacher, having young players like this and having someone who has the experience and the teaching ability to take these guys, well, that's a nice problem to have.
I can see Gene Shue now with a smile from ear to ear with this draft.
And it's an interesting situation for Seattle, too. Remember, Seattle has a free agent in Tom Chambers, whom they have not signed yet. So the Seattle team could look substantially different next year. Now we're about ready for that 15th pick announcement, and we are going to go to the commissioner, David Stern, who will have the announcement for it. Seattle is up next, and it could put in the final piece of what is apparently a very complex, at least three-way deal involving players, current players on the roster, and other players on the roster, too. So we'll be coming up in just a moment and find out exactly what Seattle's going to do. By the way, Seattle, 44-38 this year, finished third in the Pacific. So let's just see what happens. This will put the piece in the puzzle. Here's David Stern.
For the 15th pick in the draft, the Seattle Supersonics select Gary Grant of Michigan.
Gary Grant is 6'3", 190, a small guard, the first point guard pick this year. He combines scoring, playmaking, and defense in a total package. And Gary Grant has been really interesting to me, Larry Connolly, in that since the regular college season ended, the tournament play ended for the University of Michigan, nobody's really seen much of this young man.
You know, he really didn't. He didn't go to Orlando, and he didn't go to Portsmouth. But he's the type of player that you've watched over many years. Michigan's had a great program since he's been there. And the thing I like about him, and here he is, he's the all-time leader in assists for Michigan, and he's second in scoring all-time at Michigan. 6'3", 190. He can shoot it from the outside. A little bit of a streaky shooter, though. He can bury it out there, and he can really take it to the other end. He's a good defender, and I think that's another reason a lot of people like this young man. You know, it's interesting, too, Bob and Rick, that this is the first point guard we've had picked in the draft this year. You see his move right there down the right side. And we had two of them picked last year through the first 7 picks. So obviously, with Grant being the first pick, this is somewhat surprising. Physical player, yeah, great package. He scores, he's a playmaker, he plays good defense. Maybe a little inconsistent from the perimeter. I'm not sure he's a consistent scorer, but he can deliver the pass when he has to.
Well, that's, of course, a problem that really isn't all that difficult to deal with when you have a point guard who doesn't shoot all that consistently, because you really want him distributing the ball. You want him to have the threat of being able to score out there. Obviously, the people who advised him to stay out gave him some pretty good advice. I mean, he hasn't shown up anywhere, and yet he's the first point guard picked in the draft, so it really hasn't hurt his position at all, whereas had he gone to play and not played well, that probably could have influenced some people and moved him down on the draft. So Gary Grant in good position. If that trade does come through and he winds up down there at the Clippers, he's going to have a great chance to play right away and play with some great young talent and watch a team grow and develop into one of the best teams in the NBA if everybody comes through the way they're projected
Rick,
to.
Excuse me, we're going to go now. We have an announcement that's ready, but to be made by David Stern, the commissioner. It probably has to do with this trade.
A trade that was just concluded. It's a 3-team trade involving the Seattle Supersonics, the LA Clippers, and the Philadelphia 76ers. First, the Los Angeles Clippers convey the contract of Michael Cage to the Seattle Supersonics. Second, Philadelphia conveys the draft rights of Charles Smith, the number 3 selection in the draft, to the LA Clippers. Third, the LA Clippers convey the draft rights of Hersey Hawkins, the number 6 selection in the draft, to Philadelphia. Next, Seattle conveys the draft rights of Gary Grant, who was just drafted at 15, to the LA Clippers. And finally, Seattle conveys to Philadelphia one of the 3 first-round picks it has in 1989. That's the trade. There'll be a test on it in 5 minutes.
sense of humor from the commissioner. We're going to have a test on that trade. Well, I wrote it down so I can tell you what it is. It's going to be the Clippers in Philadelphia, the Clippers in Seattle. It involves Cage, Charles Smith, Hersey Hawkins, Gary Grant, and draft choices. But we'll shake that out for you again in just a moment. Right now, let's go to Craig Sager.
Well, Bob, we saw the reaction from Gary Grant. You found out same time as our audience. What is your reaction?
I don't know what to say. It was a hard wait. I just felt real good to get drafted, and I just got to thank God.
We talked to Harvey Grant. He said he was talking to you earlier while you sat out there and waited. Then you get the Seattle hat, and now you're gone again.
Well, you know, the NBA is a hard place to get to, and I just feel real good and blessed, and wherever I go, I would just like to go out there and do the best I can.
We mentioned earlier that you didn't go to the postseason camps and play. Why?
Well, basically, I wanted to finish up with school, and I will do that next Friday at the latest. And just a little slight injury I had at the beginning of the, at the end of the summer, and I just felt I had to sit out and wait a little bit.
A lot of the players, when they get drafted, have a difficult adjustment trying to meet their new teammates. Yours are out here. Danny Manning and Charles Smith. 3 players already going to the LA Clippers, and 1 group from our fine talent right here.
Well, they're 2 great basketball players. I'm enjoy playing with the whole program at Clippers, and playing with Danny and Charles will be a great thing.
Well, go trade that hat in if they have another one for the Clippers. Gary Grant now with the LA Clippers. Back to Bob.
And next up, the Houston Rockets. Houston finished 4th in the Midwest last year. Don Chaney, their new coach, as Bill Fitch left that franchise. And Houston needs a shooting, scoring forward. They need a big guard. We'll see what they're going to do in just a moment. Let's go back to David Stern.
For the 16th pick in the draft, the Houston Rockets select Derek Chivas of Missouri.
So Derek Chivas is the selection from the University of Missouri. He's 6'6.5", 187 pounds. Some of the scouts were a little leery of this player, but Larry, I think you like his prospects.
I really do, Bob. I think he's going to be an outstanding NBA player. He's a great offensive talent. He can create offense where the defense doesn't allow it. And everyone knows who plays basketball, you only take what the defense gives you. You saw his moves on the inside. Watch his rebounding ability here. In heavy traffic, he can go up and get it and stick it back in. He averaged 23 points a game and 8 rebounds for Missouri, and he's Missouri's all-time leading scorer with almost over 2,580 points. This is an outstanding player. He's very competitive. He scores from anywhere. He's a good rebounder in traffic. Maybe his open court ball handling is somewhat questionable, and his passing skills need some improvement.
Well, I think he's going to fit in very well with the Houston Rocket Ball Club. That will allow them the opportunity perhaps to allow the backcourt to have in number 2 Rodney McRae to play back there, a little bit more of the 2-guard spot, because you've got Chivas who can score from the inside, can score from the outside, create some things, and help out in the situation there with the Houston Rockets. I think that's a very good pick for them. He's a good athlete, and I think that the reputation that he has, I think isn't really warranted. He is a hard competitor, and that's the type of player you like, a guy who likes to play.
I think also that, it indicates the talent in this draft, Bob, when Derek Chivas goes 16th. I think he's a terrific player.
So Derek Chivas out of Missouri was the last player selected. We're going to recap all of that, also talk about the trade, and have the draft selection from Utah at number 17 when we return right after this.
I have a big surprise for all of you. The Houston Rockets select Ralph Sampson, University of Virginia.
How did you feel when your basket sent the game into overtime?
I felt
you're beyond compare.
Beautiful.
'Cause gentle treatment is the one that relaxes and repairs for soft, smooth, silky hair.
Can I do a stir on you and your beautiful hair?
Well,
Gentle treatment for fine to medium hair and gentle treatment extra for coarse-resistant hair.
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and went the spider.
Chances are, the rising cost of liability insurance doesn't affect you a great deal. Unless, of course, you're a 5-year-old living in California. A place where increased claims and other factors had made liability insurance so costly. A number of community parks and playgrounds were threatened to be closed. Ultimately, making it very hard for a 5-year-old to be a 5-year-old. Drexel Burnham, helping people manage change.
Do you feel lonely tonight?
Looking to meet new friends to talk with?
Call 1-900-909-2222 and listen.
As the man or woman that you desire, introduce and describe themselves.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm
6'1", dark hair, blue eyes.
With selective introductions, you make the choice or leave your own introduction and receive calls from those interested in you.
Meet a new friend. You make the choice.
Call 1-900-909-2222. $2 for the first minute, 35 cents for the additional minute.
The power of positive programming. From the people who brought you CNN, Headline News, and Superstation TBS. Classic movies, original programming, special events, Turner Network Television, TNT, coming this fall, only on cable.
We told you about the trade that happened a moment ago. The commissioner said we're going to have a quiz, so we have a cheat sheet for you. You see that Gary Grant goes to the Clippers, Hersey Hawkins to Philadelphia, Charles Smith to the Clippers, and Michael Cage goes to Seattle. And the only thing I can say about that is everybody seems happy, but the Clippers are definitely loading up in this draft situation this year thanks to the trade. Let's go to David Stern now.
For the 17th selection in the draft, the Utah Jazz select Eric Lechner of Wyoming.
Eric Lechner of Wyoming has been selected by Utah.
The next selection belongs to
very few
Sacramento.
people because they've been talking to Eric Lechner right along here. He is the big center from Wyoming. Eric Lechner at 6'11", 250 pounds. Larry Connolly?
Well, Bobby, he was all Western Athletic Conference first team for 2 years in a row. He averaged 15 points a game and 6 rebounds for this past year. I think the one thing you really like about this young man is he's a good field goal shooter. Here's the lob to the inside. He shot 61% for his career at Wyoming, and he is big, and I think that's one of the reasons that Frank Layden and the Utah Jazz are interested in having him. They've got one out there that they've developed into a pretty good player. He's another one. He can shoot it from the outside, and he is a big player. Now, his strengths, inside power, a decent short jump shot. Weaknesses, maybe desire a little bit. He does have a tendency to disappear in games, and his rebounding is somewhat weak for a man who is 6'11". He only averaged 6 caroms this year.
Well, my man Frank Layden likes the big people. He really does. I mean, they are looking for somebody to fill in behind Mark Eaton, and they have a player very similar to Mark Eaton. However, he does have, I think, a little bit more mobility than Mark Eaton, and he can move a little bit more. But Frank Layden got what he wanted. He's got somebody to give Mark Eaton a little bit of rest, and Lechner is the type of player that can do that. It's like putting a smaller version of Mark Eaton out on the court.
Rick, if there's a rap on this young man, it had to be from the people I talked to, was that he is very slow. He doesn't get up and down the floor very well. But I guess that can be said of Eaton also. He doesn't get up and down the floor very well, but he is an intimidating player.
Now we're going to go out to Steve Jones in Los Angeles. A little while ago, I said Gene Shue, who came out of the broadcasting booth to go back into coaching, put himself in a real hot seat in L.A. Well, he's cooling that seat off a lot with all the wheeling and dealing that's been going on. Here's Steve Jones in Los Angeles.
All right, Bob, Neil. Elgin Baylor, architect of this draft, and certainly you've gotten 3 very good players, and now Gene Shue, you're going to be the engineer. You're going to have to make it work. What are your thoughts about the draft?
Oh, this has been sensational for our team. We hate to lose a player like Michael Cage, who did a great job for the team, but obviously we are building the team around speed and quickness, and we are committed to that. I think Elgin did an incredible job pulling this whole thing together.
All right, now a year ago when you were still in the broadcast booth, you told me, Steve, I can't wait to get my team back together. Now, is this the team that you were telling me about that's going to be different than all other basketball teams?
This will be a different team because of the versatility of this club. We're going to be able to do a lot of different things. I have been against, I think, the traditional type center-type offenses, and hopefully we're going to be able to run an offense that we can utilize the ability of all these players.
All right, well, you had the fans out here confused, but they're happy now. Okay, let's go back to Bob Neal.
Thank you, Steve Jones. And now let's find out how Charles Smith, the youngster from Pittsburgh, feels about all of this. He's with Craig Sager.
Thank you, Bob. You haven't been in the NBA now and already been traded. How do you feel?
Well, I was pretty skeptical about the situation that was going on, but it makes it all better, you know, that we got Gary Grant, and I think now I feel more satisfied, more comfortable, and I really feel that the Clippers are the team of the future.
Did you ever have a day like this?
No, this day was crazy. Now that it's over, like I said, I'm pleased, and in LA we're gonna work out. I know we're gonna do all right.
Danny Manning, Gary Grant, also a guy you're familiar with, Reggie Williams.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of players on the team that just like to run. Myself, Danny, Gary Grant, Reggie Williams, and if we can motivate Benoit and get him playing, we're going to make some things happen, and we're going to be just as spectacular as any other team.
You're ready to start the season?
I'm ready to go.
Let's go back to Bob.
I think he's already started the season, Craig. Charles Smith has made an announcement to Benoit Benjamin to get motivated. That's an interesting one right now. All right, now take a look at this. You see Mark Jackson, who was selected for the Knicks last year, and with him is Shelton Jones, another St. John's player, forward, who hasn't gone yet, but a very good ball player who impressed when he played with the U.S. Select team in their undefeated tour of Europe recently. Shelton Jones just back from that group, and he probably raised his value just a little bit in the upcoming draft. So we're ready now for the next pick. It's number 18, and here's David Stern.
For the 18th pick in the draft, the Sacramento Kings select Ricky Berry of San Jose State.
Ricky Berry, 6'8 and a half, 205 pounds, who led the PCAA in scoring. He can play big guard or small forward, Larry Connolly. Ricky Berry.
And Bob, this is a player really, Sacramento, I guess, decided to stay home with their draft choice this year. They had a chance to see him play a lot. At 6'8 and a half, he's one of those players that we've talked about being very versatile. You see him going down the right side. Look at that left-handed layup going in underneath. He is a big player. He can play three positions, the point guard, the big guard, or the small forward. He is very versatile. His father, Bill, actually coached him at San Jose State. He started out at Oregon State and transferred to San Jose State, led the PCAA in scoring, and was on the Pan Am team in 1987. Good range, 20 to 22 feet, can pass and create. Weakness, weight, very much on the thin side. Fouls much too much and plays somewhat a soft game. And Rick, I got to tell you one thing, and I said this to you yesterday. You know, he led the PCAA in points and field goals made. Do you know who the player was that held that record before him? Stu Inman at Miami.
Well, Stu liked to fire it up there, but I think that's a good pick for Bill Russell and the Kings. Jerry Reynolds should be very pleased. I can see him playing in the backcourt along with Kenny Smith, making a very fine backcourt combination for Sacramento. They're obviously going with youth as well. Ricky Berry, a fine athlete, a good player. Forget those weaknesses. He'll learn those things as he gets a little bit more experience.
And the Felt Forum is starting to rock and roll. The New York Knicks have their selection next. Last year, they pleased everybody with a selection from St. John's of Mark Jackson, who turned out to be the Rookie of the Year. A moment ago, you saw him sitting, and there he is again with Shelton Jones, also from St. John's. Will they be teammates? The crowd here wants it to be so. We'll be back in a minute.
Some people will tell you that a smile is a little thing. But at Sheraton, it's a smile that says a lot. It's a smile that says, welcome to Sheraton. It's a smile that says, can I get you another cup of coffee? It says, would you like a few more towels? And it's a smile that says, thank you for staying at Sheraton. At Sheraton, we never forget that little things mean a lot.
Severe water shortages resulting in restricted use.
Farm Belt crops threatened as pastures deteriorate. As the drought of '88 makes its mark from coast to coast, follow the leader for complete drought updates. CNN, because you need to know.
Hello, friends. Just when you thought it was safe to use the telephone, Tales of Terror is back with grisly new tales of murder and mayhem. Now dare to enter our heart-stopping world of the unknown. Here, fear is your reward. Here, terror is your pleasure. Blood-curdling horror, pulsating pain. Call now, if you dare.
$2 the first minute, 35 cents each additional minute.
Celebrate comedy, Superstation TBS.
Today, the doctor warns the Beav about the boy who cried wolf.
Is he in your patients?
On classic Leave It to Beaver, and the reviews are in.
Absolutely marvelous.
For Laverne and Shirley. Then, there may not be a doctor in the house, but there's a robber in the diner on Alice. The comedy continues with classic Leave It to Beaver today at 5:05 Eastern on
Superstation TBS. That's today.
San Francisco fights to reclaim last year's division-winning form. Braves versus Giants, live.
We got the will. Oh, what a thrill. Goodness gracious, one crazy summer.
7:35 Eastern on the Superstation tonight. Pick number 19 in the first round coming up. Here's how it's gone so far. Manning to the Clippers. Smits to the Pacers. Then Charles Smith went to the 76ers. He since ended up at L.A., as you know. Chris Morris to the Nets. Mitch Richmond to the Warriors. Hersey Hawkins now at Philadelphia from the Clippers. Tim Perry to the Sun, and Rick Chapman, the first selection ever by the Charlotte Hornets. Next up was the Miami Heat. Ron Cycli from Syracuse went there. Willie Anderson out of Georgia to San Antonio. Will Purdue. And on they go to Eric Lechner, and Ricky Berry was the last choice taken by Sacramento. And now for the Knicks pick, David
selection
Stern.
in the draft. The New York Knickerbockers select Rod Strickland of DePaul.
Rod Strickland surprising the crowd at the Felt Forum. A chorus of boos coming up from some, mingled with cheers. Rod Strickland, the early entry choice out of DePaul University, missed the first 3 games this year due to academic ineligibility, was held out of one other due to disciplinary reasons. But at one time, Marty Blake, the NBA Super Scout, said of this man, the best point guard in college basketball, but sometimes he disappears in games. He's 6'1", 175. He'll be 22 years old on July 11th.
And you know, Bob, he's returning home. He's from the Bronx. And this is a player, really, as we look at Sheldon Jones right there, who's probably very disappointed that he wasn't selected. But this is a good point guard. But I think the most interesting part about this is now 2 years in a row, the Knicks have taken a point guard. Rod Strickland can handle the basketball. Watch this move right here. Take it back up. He can shoot it in traffic. He was also in 3 seasons, since he didn't finish his 4th year at DePaul, ended up with 1,448 points, and he had 557 assists. This is an excellent, excellent point guard. He can take care of the basketball. Now, when you start to look at him from the strengths and weaknesses standpoint, he's got the speed and quickness. He's got great range on his jump shot, good court awareness. The only problem is he was in and out of Joey Myers' doghouse all year, is his concentration during games. But Rick, he's a terrific point guard.
Well, if you're ever going to learn concentration, you'll learn it with Rick Pitino. Otherwise, you'll spend a lot of time on the bench. I would have to think 2 things here. Either the Knicks feel that Mark Jackson, who had to play a lot of minutes last year, can continue to do that, and they wanted to get a backup and really be strong there. Or perhaps there may be a deal in the works that somebody might be interested in Strickland, and they might be able to get a player that they can use in the front line.
Interestingly enough, Rick, as you and I saw the Knicks a lot last year, DePaul, a lot of players who've entered into the NBA. DePaul doesn't have a true, the Knicks do not have a true backup point guard on their roster. Anybody who backs up Mark Jackson has to be from another position. Trent Tucker, Kenny Walker, Johnny Newman, none of them, of course, point guards. So they really did need some help at that position. Let's find out now about how Rod Strickland feels about coming home to New York. He's with Craig Singer.
Thank you, Bob. I think Rod Strickland's very happy to come home to New York. You got the hat and jacket. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel good. I'm glad to be home, close to my family and friends.
A lot of people, the Knicks fans up there, were hoping Shelton Jones would be taken. What was your reaction waiting until the 19th pick?
Well, it was It was nervous out there. I really got pretty nervous after around the 10th pick. But I'm just happy to be here, and I'm just going to try to contribute any way I can.
Being at the right place at the right time is so important to anybody. Is New York a good opportunity for you, knowing that they have Mark Jackson at the point?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Mark's a great player, and he's Rookie of the Year, so it's really a hard situation to come into. But I'm just going to go out there and give it my best.
Your family must be happy you're staying at home.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Rod Strickland goes to the New York Knicks. And now back to Bob Neal.
Thank you, Craig. Now, Miami is up next. They've already drafted once in this draft. Their first choice ever in their history, the Miami Heat franchise, was Ronnie Cycli from Syracuse. In the expansion draft, the Miami Heat went more to make some trades and try to make some moves than did the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte tried to draft a lot of young players, many of whom they think can play for them. So that'll give you an idea of what Miami has on their roster right now. And Miami picked Ronnie Cycli earlier today, and they'll be coming up for their next selection. So they've already traded a couple of players, and the Miami Heat about ready to make their second pick of that young expansion franchise history.
Bob, I believe this was Dallas's pick originally,
yes.
And they decided to pass on Wennington, and now they get that 20th pick. Miami does for passing on Wennington, which I think is kind of an interesting move for them.
Well, we also have a little rumor floating around here about what might happen, that there might be something going on with this particular pick. It'll be interesting to see what develops.
So Miami has already proven that they don't mind taking a chance to make some trades for draft picks. Two of their expansion players in the draft already traded. There may be more coming their way as Miami building in a different manner than apparently Charlotte is. We talked about Charlotte earlier. Charlotte has a whole team of guards. As somebody said around here earlier today, maybe Charlotte was picking for an under 6'4" league. Don't bet on that, but you can expect some post-draft movement by Charlotte a little bit later. There you see the clock. 5 minutes between each selection in the first round of the NBA draft. In rounds 2 and 3, and there are only 3 this year after the new collective bargaining agreement, the time between those rounds will be only 2 minutes. But we're right now in the middle of round number 1. Miami, who picked Ronnie Cycli, set now to make the second choice for them in this NBA draft of 1988. Recapping once again, the first pick in the draft was Danny Manning. He was the first man to go in the draft, and Rick Smits was the second, who went to Indiana. There's been a couple of blockbuster trades. Last night, it was Oakley going from Chicago to New York for Bill Cartwright. The Atlanta Hawks made a deal last night also at midnight, trading Randy Whitman and a draft choice for Reggie Theus to Sacramento. And now let's go to David Stern.
For the 20th pick in the draft, the Miami Heat select Kevin Edwards of DePaul University.
Kevin Edwards is 6'3", 200-pound guard going to Miami Heat. They wanted a big guy. They wanted a guard, so they took Cycli first. Now Kevin Edwards from DePaul at 6'3", 200 pounds. Marty Blake thinks a lot of the character of this young man. Blake, the super scout of the NBA, and he's a smart player. He never fouled out of any game as a collegiate player, and he joins the Aguirres, Cummings, Corzines, Corbins in the NBA.
How about back-to-back players from DePaul? Right there, they both went back-to-back. Kevin Edwards is a good player, unheralded, very consistent player. Didn't play high school basketball. Came up here and decided to become a player, and he's one of the good ones DePaul has had at that position. At 6'3", he's a great leaper, long-distance shooter, good shot selection, only 5 years of organized basketball, only average quickness, but a lot of people say this about this young man. He comes to play, and I agree with that. He's an outstanding player.
Well, I think if this indeed is where he winds up with Miami, it's an excellent opportunity for him. Or with an expansion team, everybody's going to be sort of starting out on the same level, and he'll have an outstanding opportunity to get some major playing time in. And I think a lot of times you find players like this in all sports who really play in the shadow of another great player, who really are almost as good as the player that they played behind, but they never really had the opportunity to show what they can do. This may be the perfect opportunity for this young man.
Well, he's not a flashy player, but he averaged 18 points a game this year, which I think is pretty good. But again, again, he played with one of the best point guards who was getting the basketball when he needed it.
Well, I tell you, a lot of coaches would love to have players who aren't flashy. In fact, that's sometimes a drawback in some coaches' minds.
Up next will be the Portland Trail Blazers. Remember, for Portland, they were eliminated by Utah in the playoffs this year, disappointing a lot of their fans. And gone are Maurice Lucas and Caldwell Jones. Will Portland go for a big player? We'll find out in a moment. We're going to take a commercial timeout, and they'll be back to the Felt Forum at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
The Chicago Bulls picked Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina.
Some people will tell you that a smile is a little thing. But at Sheraton, it's a smile that says a lot. It's a smile that says, welcome to Sheraton. It's a smile that says, can I get you another cup of coffee? It says, would you like a few more towels? And it's a smile that says, thank you for staying at Sheraton. At Sheraton, we never forget that little things mean a lot.
Mama, he's crazy.
You're about to hear so many #1 country hits like the Judds. It's hard to believe they're all in one incredible collection.
Daddy's hand.
All-Star Country, 4 albums, 40 of today's biggest hits.
But on the other hand,
like Randy Travis,
by the dark of the moon,
Alabama,
there's a fire in the night. Why don't you mind your own business?
Hank Williams Jr.
Does Fort Worth cross your mind? I come from a long line of love, but I'll never be in love again. Pick it up.
All-Star Country.
Lost time.
On records, cassettes, or compact discs.
But you still move me.
It's not sold in stores.
Oh, I'd never let her know.
So order this award-winning album now.
Baby's got her blue jeans on.
To order, call toll-free 1-800-257-1234 to save all COD charges and pay only $19.98 plus $3 shipping for records or cassettes or $24.98 for compact discs. Use your credit card or send check or money order to All-Star Country, P.O. Box 7500, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, send check or money order or use your credit card to save COD charges.
Celebrate comedy, Superstation TBS.
Today, the doctor warns the Beav about the boy who cried wolf.
Is he in your patients?
On classic Leave It to Beaver, and the reviews are in.
Absolutely marvelous.
For Laverne and Shirley. Then, there may not be a doctor in the house, but there's a robber in the diner on Alice. The comedy continues with classic Leave It to Beaver today at 5:05.
Well, we hope you enjoyed your lunch. You're taking a look there at the remains of Rick Barry's lunch. Rick, for whom life is a picnic, had a ham and Swiss cheese on rye. Coming up next will be Portland Trailblazers, and David Stern ready to make the announcement. Right now, let's go to David Stern.
For the 21st pick in the draft, the Portland Trailblazers select Mark Bryant of Seton Hall. The next selection belongs to
Well, Portland helping themselves, knowing they'll be without Maurice Lucas and Caldwell Jones, as those veterans will be leaving. Mark Bryan is a good one. Second leading scorer and fourth leading rebounder last year in the Big East. He is a significant individual, Larry Conley.
And you know, Bob, the thing about him is he's a big, intimidating power forward. And as Rick and I were talking earlier, this was something that Portland needed to have. They needed somebody to go inside and really do a strong job off of the glass and also be a good scorer in there. You can see right here what he did for Seton Hall. He took them to their first ever NCAA tournament bid. And he's really the fifth all-time leading scorer at this school. He scored over 1,900 points. Very physically intimidating at 6'9" and 240 pounds. I think having a guy selected this low in the draft, and this quality of player, again, tells you how good a draft this is. He has the ability to get out on the break, and you can see him filling the lane and finishing the play right here. He's got good quickness to the basket. He's a positive asset because it'll be a good thing for Portland to have this type of player who can get out on the break. He can also catch it and go strong to the basket. You got to be able to catch it at that position and take the punishment he's going to receive in the NBA. He can dish it out as well. His strength, good hook shot inside. He'll dominate the boards. Good pro body. Weaknesses, ball handling, and his passing skills he needs to improve.
And, of course, usually the big men in that position have those weaknesses, or at least a great many of them do. But I'm talking to Bucky Buckwalter, the player personnel director there at Portland before the draft. They were planning to go for a big forward. They have to be delighted, just like you said, to be in this position, picking that low down in the draft, to get a player like Mark Bryant. They have also Caldwell Jones, who is not exactly a spring chicken anymore, so they needed to shore up things in that one position. So getting him has to please the Portland Trailblazers a great deal.
You think about the front line of Portland, Rick, with Kevin Duckworth, who came on to play so very well, Jerome Kersey, and now you had a player of the talent and ability of a Mark Bryant to go with their fine point guard, Terry Porter. That's a good basketball team. I do ask you a quick question, though, and what about Kiki Vandeweghe? Will he be there next year, do you think?
I would be shocked if Kiki Vandeweghe winds up in Portland next year. I think that they're going to do something with Kiki, I'm certainly to improve themselves a great deal, and Kiki Vandeweghe is the type of player that a lot of teams would be interested in because there is really a lack of good outside shooting small forwards, and Kiki Vandeweghe may very well be the best outside shooting forward in the NBA right now.
That's pretty good from a guy who says he could never shoot the basketball, huh?
We really believe that, right? All right, let's take a look at the big forwards, Larry Conley.
Here's the big forward checklist. We've been doing each position. You can see right now we're through 3 of those players. Danny Manning, Tim Perry, obviously going very high. Mark Bryant just selected as the 21st pick in the NBA draft. And there are 2 good ones left, both of them from LSU, Hernan Montenegro and Jose Vargas. So you've got 2 good players sitting there waiting to be drafted.
Now let's meet Mark Bryant. He's with Craig Sigurd.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. A tremendous pick, in my opinion, from Portland. This is the player they wanted all along. Did you want to go to Portland?
Yes, I think Portland is going to be help me out a lot. I'm going to learn from there, and I'm looking forward to going out there and play for Portland.
Now, you went out there for a visit already.
Yes, I did, and I thought it was quite impressive, you know. They gave me a physical, and they said they really liked me, and they said if I'm there, they're going to pick me.
After having their visit, they said this is the man they wanted. I know people in Portland were sitting back very nervously waiting for the pick. How about you?
I was sitting there very nervous. You know, I thought I might have been gone by now, but I'm very happy with the selection. I'm looking forward to playing for Portland.
Marty Blake a couple of years ago, like Kevin Duckworth, he turned out to be a great one in Portland. He talks highly of you. Good luck.
Thank you.
And now back to David Stern.
For the 22nd pick in the draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Randolph Keys of Southern Mississippi. The next selection belongs to Denver.
Now, you've probably not heard very much about Randolph Keys as he played at Southern Mississippi University. His hometown is Collins, Mississippi. Randolph is 6'8", 195 pounds. He was all-tournament at Portsmouth and also did a very good job in the postseason play. Had a strong showing at the U.S. Olympic trials, Larry Conley.
And Bob, he was also the MVP of the NIT 2 years ago. He is an outstanding player, good shooter. He's got good quickness, very rangy. You'll really like his body. You can see right here, he can get up. I had the great fortune of being able to do a lot of Southern Mississippi games this year, and I saw a lot of this young man. He's going to be a good NBA player. Good shooter out to 20 feet, a leaper. He can really blow up and down the floor, as that Southern Mississippi team did all year long. Ball handling, somewhat suspect, and defense really lacking. He needs big work in that area.
Well, I think most players coming into the pro ranks can use the work in that particular area. I do think that Lenny Wilkins has to be very pleased with the addition of this young man to an already outstanding young Cleveland ball club. The fact that he can shoot the ball from the outside, a luxury that a lot of teams don't have, that is going to really help things up for Brad Daugherty inside. Playing alongside of this young man, if he can be out in the court, he can open things up for Brad inside. Also, the fact that he can run the court so well, because Lenny likes to have an up-tempo game, likes to run the court, and I think that this young man will fit in very nicely with an already good Cleveland team.
Only 3 selections remaining in the first round: Denver, Boston, and L.A. And we'll be getting to see who they will be selecting right after this.
Little things mean a lot. That's why just one number gets you reservations at any Sheraton in the U.S. or 63 countries worldwide.
The Acura Legend sedan offers such amenities as leather-trimmed interior,
sophisticated stereo system, and ergonomically designed controls. Is it any wonder people enjoy sitting in it? And with its 24-valve 2.7-liter V6, is it any wonder they enjoy standing on it? The Legend sedan, precision-crafted performance from Acura.
Read any good beer bottles lately? This one tells you that Miller Genuine Draft is the one beer that's cold filtered, not heat pasteurized. So we haven't changed the rich, smooth taste of real draft beer. And you know what's the best thing about reading this bottle? It leads to a very happy ending.
Gillette has changed the face of shaving. First, we made it closer. Then we made it smoother. Atra Plus. Its Lubra Smooth Strip actually releases lubricants to glide the razor more smoothly. Incredible smoothness from the first stroke to the last. The Atra Plus system. First we made it closer, then we made it smoother.
The Atlanta Hawks without a first-round pick because they traded it to Sacramento along with Randy Whitman for Reggie Theus. Dallas and Detroit also teams without first-round selections. There are only 3 remaining: Denver, Boston, and L.A. Danny Manning went first, followed by Smith, Morris, Richmond, Hawkins, Perry, Chapman. Already in that group, 2 of those players traded. Smith and Hawkins swapped teams. Cycli, Anderson, Purdue, and Grant. No real surprises in any of those picks, with the exception that so many guards went early. 9 of the first 20 picks were guards this year. So the big men going, but not as quickly as a lot of people thought they would. And the player selected 22nd was Randolph Keys. For the 23rd pick, here's David Stern.
For the 23rd selection in the draft, the Denver Nuggets select Jerome Lane of the University of Pittsburgh.
Jerome Lane is 6'6", 215 pounds, and an exceptional rebounder for that size. He's the kind of player, Larry Connolly, who has a nose for the ball. He doesn't always muscle his way to it, but he comes up with it.
I'll tell you the one thing he can do, he's great at shattering backboards. He had a great one this past year. You know, he led the nation in rebounding, and he's one of those kind of players that's a very physical type player. He gets inside, he's got great bulk and strength. Watch this move right here. Yeah, he brought the house down and the glass. Strengths, good rebounder, obviously. A physical player inside, can score in traffic, very aggressive. His weakness, he's a very poor shooter. He needs to work on that end of the game. And he doesn't put the ball on the floor very well. And for a 6'6" guy, I think that could be a real detriment.
That could be a real problem, especially if you're playing on Doug Lowe's type of team. You have to be able to have good versatility to do it. However, playing on that type of team with the passing game offense, the way they run, you can get a lot of easy shots and a lot of dunks off of the break situations. But I think the one area where they're looking for is someone to replace Calvin Natt, who they lost early in the season. Someone who does play that physical type of game, is an intimidating type of a player who can get some rebounds for him. And I think that's the mold that they were looking for, and they found that perhaps in this young man. However, he does not have the offense that Calvin Natt had.
Rick, is Calvin Natt and Jerome Lane same type of physical makeup? 6'6", 230 for Lane?
Well, I think Calvin's a lot stronger. Calvin was really had developed himself into quite a physical specimen, but with that injury, of course, now they don't know whether he's going to be back or not. But if anybody could do it, it certainly might be Calvin Natt. But this young man doesn't have the all-around game that Calvin Natt had.
Well, our coverage of the draft continues. Let's go now back to our interview area and Craig Sager.
Thank you, Bob. With me is Rod Thorne, the Vice President of Operations for the NBA. Any surprises on your standpoint from the draft so far?
Well, Craig, I think initially when Mitch Richmond went 5th, Mitch is a great basketball player, but the speculation was that Golden State was going to draft a big player. Don Nelson normally drafts big players, and the speculation was Tim Perry or Ronnie Cycli. So I think that was probably the first surprise of the draft, but I think Mitch Richmond is going to be a great player.
Judging from the talent in the NBA and also the great college kids coming up, this may be a good time for expansion. Maybe the NBA is ready. What about Charlotte and Miami? How do you think they have addressed the problem of trying to build a team?
Well, I think they both did very well. Charlotte taking Rex Chapman, who certainly is a tremendous talent, has a lot of room to grow, and I think he'll just be an outstanding NBA player. And then Miami coming back with Ronnie Cycli, who's a great athlete, and I think he's going to have a terrific NBA career also.
2 picks left, the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers, and we'll have those when the NBA draft continues on Superstation TBS.
Sheraton, we know that little things mean a lot. That's why just one number gets you reservations at any Sheraton in the U.S. or 63 countries worldwide.
The United States Grand Prix. It's as close as most of us ever get to a Formula One machine. Until now. The Acura Integra. It's Formula One technology and it's street legal. The Integra. Precision-crafted performance from Acura.
Odious, contemptible, deplorable. I'm speaking of offending in the personal grooming arena. Something I would, of course, consider quite beyond the pale. So I give you a new Ray Guard Sports Stick, antiperspirant and deodorant. When one needs to seek maximum protection and a fresh new scent, one should grab oneself one of these Red Guard Sports Sticks because one would hate to be considered malodorous by one's chums. Now, wouldn't one? New Red Guard Sports Sticks from Gillette. Anything less would be uncivilized.
Introducing the luxurious Sato Time Ring. Both a beautiful ring and a precision quartz timepiece. The Sato Time Ring is exquisitely layered in your choice of genuine sterling silver or genuine 18-karat gold for only this astonishing low TV publicity price.
To order, call toll-free 1-800-257-1234.
Rex Chapman, you see in the picture there, surrounded by the horde of New York media, something these players will have to get used to as they'll be talking a lot of interviews in the next few years. Now let's go to David Stern.
For the 24th selection in the draft, the Boston Celtics select Brian Shaw of the University of California at Santa Barbara.
Brian Shaw from UCal Santa Barbara. That 1988 PCAA Player of the Year goes to the Boston Celtics, the Gauchos.
And Bob, you can look at his strengths here. He is a good ball handler, good defender, and an excellent rebounder for a guard because he averaged 8 rebounds a game as a guard. Weaknesses, some say his shooting, not very consistent, and his free throw shooting is off somewhat. And this is a player, Rick Barry, that I think really fits well with Boston because he can play a lot of positions. He can play the point guard at 6'5.5", and he can also go to that big guard. Now the question is, and again I get back to that weaknesses, is his shooting. I don't know if it's good enough.
Well, I really do believe that you can learn to become a better shooter, and that's something he's going to have to decide to work on. I do know that he's an outstanding young man, having been around him during the Goodwill Games coverage of the World Championships. Jerry Pym has done an outstanding job with him, and when you have a good person going to a great organization like Boston, I think that he'll fit in very nicely with that team, and obviously he has a whole summer to go out there and work on his outside shooting, and you just keep working at it, it will get better.
Well, I think it's interesting, too, that they take a player who's pretty much the size of Danny Ainge. I mean, Ainge is about 6'5", not similar in the type of play that they have because Ainge obviously is a much better shooter.
Well, but I think that this young man is a much better athlete, and if he can learn how to shoot the basketball, he can give them the type of things that Red Auerbach and the Boston Celtics organization likes in a player. They like those good athletes, the versatility of being able to play a couple of different positions. They need that help off the bench. Most of their players are one-dimensional players that come off the bench. They can only play a certain role. Now they've got a player who can give them a little bit of a different look, and if he can, again, develop the shooting and help them in that area, he could be a good addition to them.
Well, we knew that the strength of this draft would be in the big guards and in the small forward category, and it's proven to be just so. When you take a look at the categories of positions of players, you see where they went. The big guards, 6 have gone, small forwards 5, centers 5, big forwards 5, small guards 3. Of course, when you get into small forwards, big guards, and in some cases with the point guard, some of them are interchangeable, like a Willie Anderson, for instance, at the University of Georgia. But basically, it has been a guard draft. and that has been the highlight so far. The back-to-back world champion Los Angeles Lakers are about to make their selection. They will come up next for the last pick in the first round. You're looking at David Rivers out of Notre Dame University, one of the 18 projected first-round picks who are here today. And David Rivers wonders if he'll be going to the Los Angeles Lakers. And now we're ready for the pick. Here's David Stern.
For the 25th pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select David Rivers of Notre Dame.
David Rivers goes to the Los Angeles Lakers. You may recall when Magic Johnson was injured this year, Wes Matthews filled in admirably for a while, but there's no secret that the Los Angeles Lakers need some bench strength. They only go about 7 players deep. And Larry Connolly, let's talk about David Rivers. He'll shoot the ball for sure. How good a shooter is he, and what kind of role could he play there?
I think he's somewhat of a streaky shooter. You know, he was Notre Dame's MVP for 4 consecutive years, and everyone remembers that tragic auto accident he had where he had that incision really in his stomach, and he really fought back from that, and he fought back gamely. I mean, to have to go through that and come back and make yourself a better player is very difficult. He did it really in the swimming pool. I understand he jogged a lot in the swimming pool to get his stomach muscles strengthened and continued that type of rehabilitation to make himself a better player. I think what got him in this first round was the fact that he played so well in Chicago. A number of NBA scouts saw him there, and while he was not very highly touted during the year, I think his play in Chicago got him up in that first round. He is a quality point guard. He's 5'11", he's extremely quick, and he played at a great program. Strengths, quickness, and acceleration. He can get up and down the floor. He can penetrate, create, and dish. Weakness, somewhat forces his shots, but I think maybe for the team he played for the last couple of years, he had to do that.
Well, I can tell you one thing. The Lakers have to be very pleased to get him. They need some depth in the backcourt position. When Magic Johnson goes to the bench, they're forced to play Michael Cooper there. That's not his natural position. I think that David Rivers can fit in very well with the Los Angeles Ball Club. He doesn't have to be a great shooter. When you have Byron Scott playing on one wing and James Worthy playing in the forward spot, you can direct the ball club. This young man has proven that he can direct a team. He can dish the ball off, give it up. Now the Lakers really have 2 bona fide point guards on their basketball team. That's going to make them tougher next year.
Let's meet David Rivers. Here's Craig Sager.
Well, thank you very much. We were talking to David Rivers. He said he watched the NBA playoffs pretty closely.
Oh, yeah. I've been thinking about getting to this level for a long time.
What do you think about going to the Lakers?
It's going to be a great opportunity for me. Being in the company of Magic and the rest of the guys is going to be great, and I just look forward to getting out there.
After winning back-to-back NBA championships, how can you make the Lakers better?
Just, doing whatever I can to contribute and, playing as hard as I can every night.
We mentioned the near-fatal accident you had. What was going through your mind then about your career possibly coming to an end and your dreams turning into nightmares?
Well, I didn't know what was going to happen, but once the doctors gave me the okay, I just kept a positive mental attitude and knew that I was going to be fine. And I just look forward to playing in the NBA and making some money finally.
Okay, David Rivers, the first pick of the Los Angeles Lakers. Back to Bob.
So David Rivers, the 25th player picked today in the newly expanded draft with 2 new teams, Miami and Charlotte. The draft reduced to only 3 rounds this year. That's the end of round number 1. We'll recap it for you, offer some perspective for you in just a moment when we return to the Felt Forum at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
I call heads. The coin has come up tails.
I'm pretty good at baseball, but at SLR cameras, I was really green. Then I got Canon EOS, the only autofocus SLR with the green zone. The green zone makes EOS mistake-proof. Plus, EOS lenses have computers and motors built in, so anyone can shoot like a pro. Even him. Hey, you see? Canon EOS, more than autofocus, easier than ever.
Buy EOS today with no money down, low monthly payments at participating Canon dealers.
The Acura Legend sedan offers such amenities as leather-trimmed interior,
sophisticated stereo system, and ergonomically designed controls. Is it any wonder people enjoy sitting in it? And with its 24-valve 2.7-liter V6, is it any wonder they enjoy standing on it? The Legend sedan, precision-crafted performance from Acura.
For the opening of the new movie Caddyshack 2, the Miller Brewing Company held a private screening for the critics.
A sensitive and moving drama. Stimulating on many levels.
Richly rewarding.
Is there any money in it for me?
Miller's rewarding movie ticket offer makes Caddyshack 2 a must-see. Look for details wherever Miller High Life, Light, and Genuine Draft are sold, and stock up.
I just love openings.
When it comes to pitching, you can never be satisfied with your performance. You have to feel you can do even better, to be the best there is. And when it comes to sports weeklies, the best there is for my money is the sporting news.
Call 1-800-257-1234 and get 55 issues of the Sporting News for 4 payments of just $7.50. Call now, 1-800-257-1234.
Will Clark leads last year's Western Division champs. Braves versus Giants, live. 7:35 Eastern on the Superstation tonight.
Tomorrow, Pot steals the show at a benefit party on Chips. Then, a fortune in gold drew them together.
Come here, quickly, come on!
And tore them apart. Brooke Shields, Burgess Meredith, Wet Gold. It all starts at 12:05 Eastern on the Superstation tomorrow.
The first round, Danny Manning surprising nobody went to the LA Clippers, who really got well in this draft. They did a very good job. Charles Smith was the third pick by the Philadelphia 76ers, but he ended up with the LA Clippers. And Hersey Hawkins, the Clippers pick, ended up with Philadelphia as you look at the first 8 picks. And as the draft went through, big guards went a lot, so did small forwards. Ronnie Cycli went to Miami in the first ever selection by that expansion team. Will Perdue of Vanderbilt went to the Chicago Bulls, where they really bolstered their inside game with Bill Cartwright coming there from the Knicks and Oakley going to New York in a trade that was announced last night at midnight. Going now through 16 and going into the rest of the draft, 17 through 25. Eric Lechner, the big 7-footer from Wyoming, went to Utah, and the last man selected in round 1 of the 1988 draft, going to the Los Angeles Lakers, David Rivers. In just a moment, we're going to come back and recap all of this, but there was a big trade that also happened today involving the Los Angeles Clippers, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Seattle Supersonics that really moved some players around. When we come back, we'll explain that trade for you and recap what happened today right after this.
Be there. Again. And again.
Only one shot, baby, one shot!
The NBA World Championship video. The playoffs, the finals, plus exclusive footage you'd never see on TV. Call 1-800-972-1000.
The United States Grand Prix. It's as close as most of us ever get to a Formula One machine. Until now. The Acura Integra. It's Formula One technology and it's street legal. The Integra. Precision-crafted performance from Acura.
San Francisco fights to reclaim last year's division-winning form. Braves versus Giants, live.
We got the will. Oh, what a thrill. Goodness gracious, one crazy summer.
7:35 Eastern on the Superstation tonight.
At his last tune-up, Jim McGill forgot to change something very important. His engine belts. After 4 years, belts can break anytime. So don't take chances. Next tune-up, get Gates belts. More mechanics install Gates and more people rely on them than any other belt made. Remember, if your car's 4 years old, get Gates before it's too late.
But
seeks for web.
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder. The Discover card actually pays you cash back for every charge. It pays to Discover.
All the highlights, all the excitement. Join the Superstation for a recap of the 1988 NBA Draft. 10:20 Eastern on the Superstation tonight.
TBS sports coverage of the 1988 NBA Draft has been brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. By Acura Legend and Integra. Precision-crafted performance exclusively at your Acura dealer. By Digital Equipment Corporation, the official computer vendor to the NBA. By Sheraton, the official hotel sponsor of the NBA. And by Johnson Products, makers of Ultrastar, the hair grooming system for men.
So from New York, you've been watching the first round of the 1988 NBA Draft. A very big trade took place today also that we wanted to recap for you because it is a complex deal. It involved the Clippers, Seattle, and Philadelphia. And basically, Gary Grant, the guard from Michigan, and Charles Smith, the forward from Pittsburgh, went to the Clippers. Hersey Hawkins, the guard from Bradley, to Philadelphia. And Michael Cage went from the L.A. Clippers to Seattle, and that's it's a lot more complicated, but that's where the players ended up, and that was the big trade of the day. And now let's go to Rick Barry and Larry Connolly for their final comments analyzing this draft. And Rick, from the professional basketball team's viewpoint, how would you characterize the 1988 draft?
Well, Bob, I would say that every team that got a player or two players or more in this first round of the 1988 draft has a player who will make their roster. It's a very strong draft. If I had to pick one team that came out ahead, it would be very easy. The Los Angeles Clippers got three great basketball players. I would say Phoenix was the team with 2 picks in the first round who would be number 2 as far as getting something really worthwhile out of this draft.
I thought the Clippers made out like bandits. I really do. I think they had a great draft, and they're building for the future. I think this is going to be a good basketball team. The Lakers better watch out. This is a club that's going to have a crosstown rival. I think they're really building. The other thing is, I think we saw in this draft the big guard, small forward come into play. 14 of the 25 players picked came from those two positions. It was quality all the way, Bob.
Well, I'd like to also thank the other folks who worked with us on the draft today out of Los Angeles, our colleagues Steve Jones, Paul Ryden in Charlotte, Craig Sager interviewing the players here, and the man chasing down the breaking news stories, and there were some today, Roy S. Johnson, the columnist for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. On behalf of our entire TBS sports staff, and Rick and Larry, this is Bob Neal from the Felt Forum in Madison Square Garden in New York City, reminding you that coming up tonight after the Braves game at 10:20 Eastern Time, we will have a half-hour recap of this draft, giving you a rundown of what happened in the draft, also in rounds 2 and 3, and some analysis of how it may affect the NBA season in 1988 and 89. For everybody in New York, this is Bob Neal. So long.
The NBA's first step toward next season begins today with picks and choices from the 1988 draft, the winners and losers on Sports Tonight at 11:30 Eastern on CNN.
Gomer Pyle, USMC. As Gomer Pyle. Also starring Frank Sutton as Sergeant Carter.
Allergies. I can't breathe.
Before and aspirin. When allergies shut you down, Afrin will open you up.
What Afrin does in 5 minutes takes Sudafed over an hour. It's the #1 recommended nasal spray.
Tawana Brawley, the teenager whose story of rape and kidnap has mystified a nation. It's on the cover of this week's People. How Tawana's controversial advisors might be adding to this growing nightmare. This week, the story behind Tawana's story. People, that's what we're all about.
Aw, big boys don't cry over little cuts.
It doesn't hurt. Oh.
Isn't it a shame you have to make things up to soothe their pain?
Daddy will kiss the pain away.
Now you don't have to. Introducing Camphofenique Antibiotic Plus Pain Reliever. It helps prevent infection, speeds healing, and unlike the leading antibiotic, it has an anesthetic to stop pain within seconds. So with Camphofenique Antibiotic, you can mean what you say.
See, it doesn't hurt anymore.
I need a moment in my day.
Yes, sir. I've got a Tuesday tattoo.
Myself at
Yes, sir.
ease.
Thank you.
And nothing's like being invisible, and nothing's better for seeing the forest for the trees than the good to the last drop feeling of Maxwell House. Only Maxwell House. That's the good to the last drop feeling of Maxwell House and me.
What's the matter, Sarge? I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
What don't you believe?
I just came from Colonel Gray's office. He says that General Prescott's up in Los Angeles for a staff conference, and right afterwards he's due back here at the base for a general inspection.
So?
So, he wants a man from our outfit to pick him up and bring him here.
So?
Guess which man the colonel wants? He wants...
Pyle. He's the best man for the job.
Pyle, sir? You want Pyle to drive a general?
Yes. According to his motor pool record, he has one of the top driver ratings on the base.
But I've got lots of drivers, sir. Truck drivers, a bus driver, a cabbie from New York.
But they don't have Pyle's mechanical aptitude. According to this report, Sergeant, he scored 95 out of a possible 100 points on the vehicle repair test. If they had some minor breakdown on the road, Pyle would be more than able to handle it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm most impressed with his record for punctuality. Now, that's very important with General Prescott. His nickname is Punctual Pete, you know. Now, the General's staying at the Chancellor Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard. Pyle is to pick him up at exactly 1500 hours this afternoon.
Okay. Now, remember, Pyle, I'm General Prescott, and you're waiting out in front of the hotel to pick me up.
Got you, Sergeant. I mean, General.
Okay, now let's try it. This is the staff car.
Good afternoon, General. I'm your driver, Private First Class Gomer Pyle. By the way, how was your meeting?
How was my meeting? That's none of your business. After you salute, just open the door and let me in.
Yes, sir. Just open the door.
What are you doing now, Pyle?
I was just dusting off the seat.
Dusting? You should have done that before you started out. Yes, all right, now I'm sitting in the back and you're driving. Drive.
Yes, sir, Sergeant. I mean, General. How's the family, General?
What was that?
I was just asking the General how his family was, you know, to make him feel at home.
You don't ask the General nothing. You just drive. You got that?
Yes, sir.
Now, look. I want you to understand the importance of this mission. For 2 whole hours, all the way from L.A. back to Camp Henderson, the welfare of a United States Marine Corps general will be in your hands. Gomer Pyle. It's a frightening thought.
I know it's a big responsibility, Sergeant. Believe me, I won't let you down either. Is there anything I can get for you while I'm up there in L.A.?
Just the general, Pyle. Just come back with the general. Now, do you know how to get to L.A.?
Well, I think I know.
You don't think, Pyle. You gotta be sure. This is like any other mission. You gotta plan it.
Yes, sir.
Now, pay close attention. This is Camp Henderson, and this is downtown L.A.
Hard to believe, ain't it, Sergeant?
What?
All them dots stands for cities and towns with people in them. People just like you and me. Having their ups and their downs, their good times, their bad. Happiness one day, heartache the next.
Pyle, will you knock it off? I'm trying to show you how to get to L.A.
Sorry, Sergeant.
All right. Now, stay on the Santa Ana Freeway till you get to the Civic Center. Enter the Harbor Freeway and get off at Wilshire Boulevard and you're there.
Seems real simple.
All right. Get the staff car, get it gassed up, and take off.
Sergeant, we just finished morning chow. I don't have to pick up the general till this afternoon at 3 o'clock. That's more than 7 hours away.
That's right. Because you're not meeting just General Prescott. You're meeting Punctual Pete Prescott. You got that? Punctual. Always on time.
Golly, Sergeant, it only takes 2 hours to drive up to L.A. That means I have 5 hours to wait.
It never hurts to be early. Give me your finger.
My finger?
Yeah, we might as well make sure. Santa Ana Freeway to Civic Center.
Santa Ana Freeway to Civic Center.
Take the Harbor Freeway.
Take the Harbor Freeway.
Get off at Wilshire Boulevard.
Get off at Wilshire Boulevard.
Okay, now let's take it again from the top.
Okay, now let's take it again from the top. Hey, ma'am, you having some trouble?
Oh, yes, I'm afraid so. I was driving along, and all of a sudden the car went dead. I tried starting it again, but nothing happens.
Well, you got plenty of gas, you can see that.
I know. I had it filled when I had the car washed yesterday. With 15 gallons, you get a free wash.
Well, ain't that nice?
It's Hilly's Car Wash on Olympic Boulevard. They do a nice, clean job.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I really don't know what could be wrong with your car, though.
Well, I have a suggestion.
Ma'am, I've been pushing you for miles and she just don't seem to kick over. It's probably your generator, and I think you better call a tow truck.
Oh, that's all right. I'm home now.
Home?
Yes, I live right over there. Thank you for pushing me all the way home.
That's okay, ma'am, but could you tell me where we are?
Van Nuys.
Where?
Van Nuys, the garden spot of the valley. Haven't you ever heard of it?
Well, I'm afraid I haven't, ma'am. But is it anywhere near downtown L.A.?
Well, no. By freeway, you'll make it back in no time at all. You just turn right at the next corner. And then you go 3 blocks till you get to the freeway ramp. And then all you have to do is follow the sign.
Thank you, ma'am. Just follow the sign.
Goodbye. And remember, defensive driving.
Nice. Santa Monica? What are you doing in Santa Monica?
Well, I know I'm way off course, Sergeant, but believe me, I just couldn't help myself.
I gave you explicit directions. Why didn't you follow them?
I did, Sergeant. Honest, I did. But you see, when I swung out on the freeway, I got stuck over in the fast lane somehow. And then when I saw the downtown cutoff sign, the traffic was so heavy I just couldn't get over. I signaled and I honked, but it just wasn't no use, and I had to keep going until I hit Santa Monica. That ever happened to you, Sergeant?
Nah.
Here you go, Sarge. Here. Here's Santa Monica.
All right, I got Santa Monica, pile. Have you got a pencil?
Brutto galo, non guardi che fai! Che sei ciecato? Guardi! Che non guardi che fai! Che sei cieco, matto!
Are you all right, mister?
Yeah, I'm okay. You see that driver? He's crazy. You see what he do?
Well, he wasn't paying much attention, was he? Here, let me help you.
Nobody watching nobody no more. Driving like crazy. That's all they do.
Some people are careless. Here, let's get out of the way over here.
Brutto cane. Guardi che sei ciecato. Thank you very much. You, very nice. What's your name?
Gomer Pyle.
Gomer Pyle. I knew right away. You Italiano, huh?
Well, I'm afraid I ain't, but I sure do like pizza, and nobody sings better than Dean Martin.
I see you have a good taste. It's nice to meet you, Como. Thank you very much again, and bye-bye now.
Well, wait a minute. How far do you have to take all these groceries?
Oh, I live very close, only 10 blocks.
10 blocks? Sure was a lot faster than walking, wasn't it?
You're a very kind man. Please, come in the house and meet the wife.
Well, thank you, Mr. Barbella, but I'd better be on my way.
But just for a few minutes, huh? My wife, she always say, nobody helping nobody no more. People, they just think of themselves. I want her to meet you and show there's some really nice people in the world.
Well, that's real nice of you, Mr. Barbella, but I...
Come on. We give you a drink.
I've really got something very important I've got to do, Mr. Barbella. I just couldn't.
That's a lasagna, Mr. Gomopile.
No, Miss Barbella, I couldn't eat another bite.
Oh, you don't like it?
Oh, no, ma'am, I love it. I wouldn't have had 3 helpings if I didn't. It was delicious.
Then you have some more, eh?
Honestly, Miss Barbella, I just don't have any more room. And besides, I've got some really important marine business I have to take care of. Thank you for a wonderful lunch, and it's been a pleasure meeting you two.
Wait, Mr. Gomopile. I bet you know our grandson, Private Tony Colucci.
Tony Colucci?
Cara mia, how many times do I have to tell you? Our Tony is in the army. Gomopile is a Marine. How are they gonna meet?
Hey, Army Marine. Our Tony is very popular. He makes lots of friends. Look, this is his picture. So if you meet him, you know what he look like.
Well, he's a real handsome boy, all right.
Handsome? Oh, you should see him when he graduates from high school. Oh, if you only had time to look at all the pictures. And this is my sister Rosa. And these are all her children. Look.
And here, Gomopile. This is my brother, Mario. He's a gondolier in Venice. Oh, you should hear him sing. A regular Caruso.
Well, now, I really want to thank you both for your hospitality, but I've got to be going now. If you'll just tell me which freeway I take to get downtown.
Oh, that's easy. You go 2 blocks from here, and you see the San Diego Freeway going south.
No. That's a long way. You listen to me, Gomopile. You take the Santa Monica Freeway going east, and then you take the Hollywood Interchange.
No, what Hollywood? You want him to get lost? What's the matter with you? No, listen, Gomopile. You go to the San Diego Freeway.
No. He don't know anything. You no listen to me. No, senti, è meglio che senti a me, perché lui non sa, si perde sempre quando vai giù in città. Senti, devi prendere la Santa Monica.
Sì, Santa Monica,
Ma certo deve prendere la Santa Monica, perché sennò è troppo lunga l'altra.
Ma io direzione mia, io so
perché le tue direzioni sono diverse sempre.
30 anni che ho
Si vede con 30 anni.
Ma fratello,
fai piacere.
Ma fratello, io non...
So far, no Western newsmen have been face-to-face with Gorbachev.
Flight 408 to Paris with connecting service to Moscow, now in final boarding at 8:30.
The first Western newsmen invited to meet Mikhail Gorbachev were from Time magazine.
He dominates a meeting with 3 extraordinary tools: eyes, hands, and voice. The eyes go into action first.
Others reported the news. One magazine brought you the man who created it. Time. There's no substitute.
You know, that's right. Week after week, there is no substitute for time. Like you, I watch the news and read the paper. But I rely on time to put all the pieces together, to take me behind the headlines, right to the real story.
Honey, be sure you tell them how much we enjoy the 4-in-1 phone center, too.
Oh, yeah. We got this great Ultronic 4-in-1 phone center, free with our paid subscription. It's got a mute button, an on-off switch, and memory redial. And as you can see, there's a notepad, a clock, and a calendar that never needs to be replaced. With the 4-in-1 phone center, you've got everything you need right at your fingertips. And if you call this toll-free number now, you'll also save over 40% off the cover price. You get 26 issues, payable in 3 monthly installments of only $9.89 each. And with each issue, you experience Time's unique ability to spot trends and make the connections that make the world make sense. Time has direct access to the newsmakers, so you'll have a fuller understanding of the people and events that shape our lives. That's what you get with Time every week. And that's why, week after week, there is no substitute for Time.
Did you tell them about the 4-in-1 phone center?
Sure. And also told them how to get their own. Free.
Call 1-800-284-0800.
You'll get your free Ultronic 4-in-1 phone center, and you'll save on time. Week after week, there is no substitute for Time.
Company B, Corporal Ball speaking. It's our man in Los Angeles again.
You talk to him. If he's lost, I don't want to talk to him.
Are you lost again? He's lost again.
Let me talk to him. All right, pile. What now? What now?
I hate to keep bothering you like this, Sergeant, but I'm a little off course again.
Where are you?
Pasadena.
What are you doing in Pasadena?
Well, you see, I met this Mr. Barbella.
That's enough. Now, you stay right where you are. I'm going to come up there and do the job myself. I'm relieving you of this assignment.
Oh, no, Sergeant, don't do that. I can do the job. Honest, I can. Give me another chance, Sergeant. Just one more chance, please.
All right. All right, I'll give you one more chance. But this time you drive straight to that hotel and no detours. You understand?
Yes, sir, Sergeant, and I won't let you down, neither. There's just one more thing, though. How do I get there from here? I'm about a half a block from the Rose Bowl. You know where they play that big football game every year.
I know.
Just think, Sergeant, if this is New Year's Day, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere near this place.
The map.
Colorado Boulevard, Pasadena Freeway going south, then cut over to the Harbor Freeway, and then straight on in downtown. Hi there. Where are you going? On a hike?
Nowhere, I'm afraid. We're supposed to be on an outing, but we missed that bus that would have taken us downtown.
Oh, well, that's a shame. Is this the place you wanted, ma'am?
Oh, yes. We'll catch our bus right here at the station. Thank you very much for the ride. You're very kind.
Oh, it was nothing, but I have kind of lost my bearings. Could you tell me how I get to Wilshire Boulevard?
Wilshire Boulevard. Oh, I wish my husband was here. He's so good at directions.
Oh, well, that's okay. I know it's around here somewhere. I'll just ask over here at this guy's station. You all have a good time.
Hi there, buddy. What'll it be? Custom Octane, Golden High Test, or Supersonic Supreme?
Well, nothing, thank you. I don't really need any gas. I just wanted to ask
Oh, I know. You're here for the Lucky Country Contest.
Lucky Country Contest?
Yeah. Here's a card with the map of half a country on it. If you get another card with the matching half of the same country, we'll send you there, all expenses paid.
No kidding.
2 of our best customers just left this morning for Iceland.
That's wonderful. But to be honest with you, that ain't the reason I come in. I only wanted to ask you how to get to Wilshire Boulevard.
Wilshire Boulevard, 2 blocks up, and turn right.
Well, thank you very much, and good luck with your contest.
Wait a minute. Hang on a second, Marine. You forgot your Demi-Task Cup.
Demi-Task Cup?
That's right. Just for stopping by. And the next time you come in, I'll see you get a matching saucer.
Thanks so much. I'll be sure and tell all my friends about it.
You do that.
Hey, fellas, where you going? What happened?
Oh, the last bus left 10 minutes ago and we just missed it. The boys are so disappointed.
You're at Disneyland.
I hadn't really planned on it, Sergeant. Those little fellers look so disappointed.
Now do you see why I sent you up there 7 hours early? And it still wasn't early enough? Knowing you, I should have sent you up there a week ago.
Believe me, there's nothing to be concerned about. I'm leaving right now. And by the way, Sergeant, I sure do wish you was here with me. The Matterhorn looks so beautiful, and the monorail, the enchanted castle.
Boyle, shut up! Boyle!
Hello? Sergeant Carter? It's me again.
Don't tell me, Pyle. Don't you dare tell me.
Well, I'm not lost, Sergeant. I just called to tell you that I'm right here by the General's Hotel.
You hear that, Boyle? I made it. What about the general? Where is he?
Well, I'm a couple of minutes early, so I just took time out to call you and set your mind at ease because I knew how upset you was. All's well, the end's well.
All right, Pyle. You made it. Now, you just go out to the car and wait for it. Just sit and wait.
Oh, I will, Sergeant. You can rest assured. Hey, there he is, Sergeant. There he is. It's him, Sergeant. That's the general, all right. And he's right on time.
Never mind the comments, Pyle. Just hang up and go get him.
Right, Sergeant. We're on our way.
Hey, buddy, are you driving that staff car back there?
Yeah.
Listen, pal, you gotta help me.
Could I get you a taxi, General?
No, thanks. I'm expecting a staff car to pick me up. Should be here any minute. Well, here he is now.
What the? Are you all right, General?
Yes, I'm all right, but I can't say the same for the Marine driving that car. Where's the phone?
Right here.
What are you so nervous about, Sarge? Why don't you sit down and relax?
I can't relax. I can't relax until Pyle drives up here with that general. Do you mind?
I don't know what you're so worried about. Pyle just called. He said he saw the general. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong with Pyle? You could run him over, you could slam the door on his fingers, all lots of things.
As you were. Sergeant, have you heard from Private Pyle at all?
As a matter of fact, I have, sir, several times. It seems he got lost, but there's nothing to worry about, sir. The last time I heard from him, he was at the hotel right on time.
Very interesting. I just got a phone call from General Prescott. The staff car took off without him.
Without the general?
That's right. And it nearly knocked him down in the process. What got into Pyle?
I can't understand it, sir. Unless it was all that freeway driving and the smog. It must have got to him.
Well, General Prescott's fit to be tied. If we don't do something, Sergeant, there'll be fallout from here back to the Pentagon.
Yes, sir. I'll get another man on it right away. PFC Hummel. He's a very trustworthy man.
No, this is too important. You and I better get up there ourselves and hope for the best. My car's outside.
Yes, sir.
Well, Sergeant, what is it? Where's General Prescott?
Well, I don't know how to tell you this, sir. I can hardly believe it myself.
What is it? Out with it.
Well, General Prescott, sir, he just left for the hospital.
Hospital? Oh, no. He probably stood outside so long he got sunstroke. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Prescott.
And Pyle.
What are those policemen and that photographer doing?
Well, the general probably caught up with Pyle, sir, and had him placed under arrest.
Now, let's get one with just the general and Pyle here.
General Prescott, I'm Colonel Gray from Camp Henderson.
Colonel Gray?
Colonel Gray, Sergeant Carter, what a nice surprise. What are y'all doing way up here?
Sir, I want to apologize for what's happened today. I sent this man to pick you up, and I regret the unfortunate incident.
Nonsense. If Pyle had picked me up when he was supposed to, we never would have had the baby.
Baby, sir?
8 pounds, 9 ounces. Cutest little girl you ever laid your eyes on.
Pyle here is responsible for bringing her into the world.
If Goma hadn't let us use the staff car when my cab broke down, we would have never gotten Mrs. Rodriguez to the hospital.
A quick-thinking man here, Colonel. Even thought up a name for the baby.
Eleonora.
Yes, sir. A good man. That's why we picked him for the assignment.
Well, it's almost 1800. If I'm due at Camp Henderson, we better get going.
Yes, sir. My car is right this way.
It'll be an honor to drive you, sir. A real privilege.
Well, thank you, Sergeant. But if you don't mind, I think I'll drive back with Pyle.
With Pyle, sir?
Yes, he did come to pick me up. I'm sure he'll be very good company. Coming, Colonel?
Yes, sir.
Pyle?
Bye, Sergeant. Have a real nice trip back, and don't forget to drive careful.
Next, celebrate cartoon fun with Tom and Jerry's Funhouse, followed by prehistoric humor with the Flintstones. Celebrate the best on Superstation TBS.
Danska oster. Danska pølse. Danska flyskumskager.
In Denmark, where they have delicious food, they also have a delicious way to help them eat less when they diet. Fiber Trim Sparkling Fruit Tabs. A fruity drink with fiber that helps fill them up so they can eat less, even when faced with delicious new sparkling fruit tabs from Fiber Trim, the European way to slim.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Would you act like your dog? Him?
No, thanks.
A rich, creamy Klondike ice cream?
Well, maybe a pant.
Covered in rich milk chocolate? No bark, no bite. Now speak, doggy.
That chocolate-coated ice cream, loaded big and thick, no room for stick. What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Now, can your dog act like you? Perfect.
And who were these men?
Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev.
And why were they so important? Anybody?
The IMF treaty.
INF Treaty.
It was the first treaty to start getting rid of nuclear weapons on Earth. Back then, nuclear war was still possible.
Incredible, isn't it?
Our future depends on what you do today. Call 1-800-543-4100 and join the Better World Society. Nuclear arms won't be reduced without your support. We're using television to urge millions of Americans to make our nation's leaders work to reverse the arms race. Call 1-800-543-4100.
In 1988, the American people elected a president whose top priority was arms control. Who was he?
I know.
Start building a better world today. Call 1-800-543-4100.
Just don't understand it. Where could the sergeant be?
No, be any wonder myself.
We've been back for over 2 hours, and the sergeant left right after we did. I sure hope he didn't run into any trouble.
Well, maybe he stopped for something to eat or ran into some heavy traffic.
Well, I sure hope nothing happened. Sergeant Carter, boy, are we glad to see you. We was just talking about you. Why are you so late? Is everything okay?
We're really getting worried, Sarge. You're 2 hours overdue. What happened?
What happened? Did you guys have anything better to do than nose around?
Yeah, but 2 hours, Sarge, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's way too long, Sergeant. Did you get lost?
None of your business.
You did, didn't you, Sergeant? And I bet I can tell you why. When you went to take the Santa Ana Freeway going south, you took the wrong ramp and got on the Golden State Freeway going west. Is that what you did, Sergeant? Is that what you did?
None of your business, pal.
Well, that's terrible, Sergeant. How come you didn't give us a call? Where's the map, Corporal Ball? I can show you exactly what he did. At that particular intersection, the Santa Ana Freeway and the Golden State Freeway, they kind of come together. And it's really...
6 games, we won only 8 last year, so hey, he's improved, there's no doubt about it. 23 SIU turnover. Greg Jones can't get it, and it's controlled by Kruger. Bradley's turned it over 15 times, which is okay when you're leading by 16 points. From the corner, it's short from Knobsick. Here comes Anthony Manuel. 5-on-1.